Okay, I'm gonna follow suit. I think I have enough time.
Oh, perfect timing, Fuego. All right. We are live.
Ah!
So, yeah, welcome everyone. Hang on, I gotta find the stream on my... Nope, that's not the right stream. Gotta find the stream on my phone here so I can get the comments going. And there we go. Oh, all right, there we go. Fuego's good. All right, so we got the mic in Fuego's earbud, so that's why we're hearing all the rustly, but it should be good now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it switches your mic when you plug those in, but it's all right. It still sounds okay. Guys, can you hear us okay? Am I doubled up anywhere? Let me make sure I'm not doubled up anywhere. Nope.
How about me? Am I doubling? Am I doubling down? I don't know.
All right, should be good. I just checked that. I dug it. No trailer park, so it's a win. The movie was enjoyable. Hello there. So we have Anibal Riveros in the chat. Mikey Mnemonic, of course. Eddie D. What up, Eddie D?
Yeah.
Robert Duell was here a bit ago. Michael M. Olive Oliviax. I'm not sure if that... I know it's Olive, but I'm not sure if she likes Oliviax or if she preferred just Olive, but... Then Larry Scruggs was here a bit earlier, along with CK2D. So hello, welcome, one and all. It's been a while since we've done a News with Booze, but there's just been so much dropping, and with the kind of quarantine situation, you guys, we haven't been able to get together as often as we have wanted to. Good, they can hear us both. Thank you, Michael M. And hello, Cinema of the Dead. What's up, what's up? All right, so we are here to discuss some of the crazy stuff, but honestly, the reason I was like, guys, or I messaged the group saying we really need to talk about something is because of the biggest story that just happened about an hour and a half ago, or at least as far as what I can tell, and that is the background. As you can see, we have Universal versus AMC theaters. And Fuego, do you want to give everyone a bit of the lowdown as to what's going on there?
Yeah. So this is kind of a developing story. So it started
Oh,
out...
wait. Sorry. This is my fault. I'll take responsibility. Hey, everyone. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Jaime and Fuego.
And this is your horror show news
With
Booze. News Flash Edition.
News bites. Hot.
Mm-hmm. All right, please continue. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good. So, yes, developing story, obviously. And it didn't come to my attention until you even brought it up, because there was nothing on Collider, Bloody Disgusting, any of these big platforms. It was really the biggies like THR and Deadline that were initially talking about it, because earlier in the day, as I pull up the information, NBC Universal CEO Jeff Shell went on record when he was doing an interview that was published earlier today, talking about how with the impressive profitability of going on demand directly to home with Trolls World Tour, the second Trolls film, which I was just immensely excited for. And I still haven't watched it yet. It looked all right, but nonetheless, this is like a seismic shift in a lot of people's opinions, because he said that based on the fact that in those first 3 weeks they made like over $100 million with this film, that going forward, once theaters reopen, they were going to just go direct to home on demand the same day that films hit theaters. So that was obviously, it caused a ruckus. NATO, which is not the NATO you're probably thinking of. NATO is also the North American Theater Owners Association. And so they had a statement that they released basically saying that they were kind of bewildered and off-put by this very just casual statement of that being the plan at Universal, but that they hope things could be worked out and perceptions and plans changed and stuff like that. Well, AMC, who owns the largest theater chain in the entire world, primarily in the Middle East, Europe, and North America, they went on record later today in a very lengthy email that was sent out. It was basically like a declarative letter, and the declarative letter, I'm trying to find the name of the CEO and president of AMC, Adam Aaron, went on record, and not really in a supremely antagonistic way, but in a very decisive, distinctive fashion, saying, well, if you made these plans without consulting us and without just actually having some dialogue, because he also alludes to the fact that Universal has been telling them for a while that they wanted to narrow those exclusivity windows, and that they wanted to just, have more time to just have stuff on demand just in the homes on demand at a higher price point, as opposed to driving families and just individuals to theaters. And basically, bottom line, and I'm wondering if I should just go for the exact quote, but really just the gist of it is the fact that they're like, as of today, since there was no discussion about this with us, and you've obviously made your decision already, we are no longer going to show Universal Pictures stuff in our theaters again. And it seemed very cut and dry, and yet, I don't know, just to get so decisive about it, it makes me wonder if this is more of like a playing chicken sort of situation, and just because it does mention at the very end of the letter that, as I get to the exact quote.
Yeah, you might as well just read the letter. And by the way, do me a favor before you do.
Yeah, for sure.
Grab your cord and hold it away from your tie. Let's see it, because we're getting a click. I think it's because that's where your microphone is. So it's tapping against your tie, and we're getting a click every time it does. So go up for it. Okay,
I guess we'll find out. Is it still doing it?
Not at all. Perfect.
Okay, that must be what it is then. Okay, sweet. Okay, so it is a little lengthy, everybody, so bear with me. But,
we all love your pretty voice, Fuego. It's okay. Go for it.
I thank you. But Aaron makes some good points, as of which you will see here in a second. So this was the AMC response from the CEO and president of the largest theater chain in the world. At this time of national emergency and the coronavirus wreaking havoc on the entire world, I hope that you and your loved ones are healthy and safe. I worry and I wish the best for the health of all of our industry colleagues. Never in our lifetimes has there been a more challenging time. Amidst the global pandemic as a backdrop, I wish we were spared from also having to address a different issue that arises from Universal actions currently underway. For 100 years, AMC Theaters has served as a strategically critical and highly profitable distribution platform for movie makers. And for all that time, the exclusivity of the theatrical release has been fundamental. When a movie is only in theaters, and that's quotation to everybody, consumers perceive it to be higher quality entertainment. Countless filmmakers and moviegoers believe that their creative works are best enjoyed by consumers on the big screen. And we all know that those theatrical releases indeed boost publicity, positive word of mouth, critical acclaim, and downstream revenues. For much of the past 4.5 years, I have been in direct dialogue with Jeff Shell and Peter Levinson of Universal about the importance of a robust theatrical window to the viability of the motion picture exhibition industry. Throughout that time, AMC has expressed a willingness to consider alternatives to the current windowing strategy common in our industry, where the aim of such alternatives is to improve both studio profitability and theater operator profitability. Universal stated it only pursued a direct-to-home entertainment release for Trolls World Tour because theaters were closed and Universal was committed to a lucrative toy licensing deal. We had our doubts that this was wholly Universal's motivations, as it has been a long-standing desire by Universal to go to the home day and date. Nonetheless, we accepted the action as an exception to our long-standing business practices in these unprecedented times. In today's Wall Street Journal, Jeff Shell is quoted as saying, "The results for Trolls World Tour have exceeded our expectations and demonstrated the viability of the PVOD. As soon as theaters reopen, we expect to release movies on both formats, same day. This radical change by Universal," and this goes back to the AMC guy talking, "to the business model that currently exists between our two companies represents nothing but downside for us and is categorically unacceptable to AMC Entertainment, the world's largest collection of movie theaters. Going forward, AMC will not license any Universal movies in any of our 1,000+ theaters globally on these terms. Accordingly, we want to be absolutely clear so that there is no ambiguity of any kind. AMC believes that this proposed action to go to the home and theaters simultaneously, Universal is breaking the business model and dealing between our two companies. It assumes that we will meekly accept a reshaped view of studios and exhibitors should interact with, zero concern on Universal's part as to how its actions affect us. It also presumes that Universal, in fact, can have its cake and eat it too, that Universal product can be released to home and theaters at the same time without modifications to the current economic arrangements between us. It is disappointing to us, but Jeff's comments as to Universal's unilateral actions and intentions has left us with no choice. Thereby, effectively, immediately, AMC will no longer play any Universal movies in any of our theaters in the US, Europe, the Middle East. This policy affects any and all Universal movies per se, goes into effect today, and as our theaters reopen soon, is not some hollow or ill-considered threat. Incidentally, this policy is not aimed solely at Universal or to be punitive in any way. It also extends to any movie maker who unilaterally abandons current windowing practices absent good faith negotiations between us so that they as distributor and we as exhibitor both benefit and neither are hurt by such changes. Currently, with the press comment today, Universal is the only studio contemplating a wholesale change to the status quo, hence this immediate communication in response. It's almost over, everybody. AMC has invested significant time and energy with Universal executives over the past few years trying to figure out a new Windows model that would be beneficial both for your studio and for our theater operations. While Universal's unilateral pronouncements on this issue are unpalatable to us, as has always been the case, AMC is willing to sit down with Universal to discuss different Windows strategies and different economic models between your company and ours. However, since you forgoed such discussions and an acceptable conclusion thereto, our decades of incredibly successful business activity together has sadly come to an end. Sincerely, Adam Eron.
I'm taking my ball and going home.
Yeah, man. Decisive, but I still wonder, and I mentioned this to Cecil, everybody in the...
Hold your thing out. Hold your thing out.
Okay, I will. I think this is similar to other situations, like I said earlier.
No,
where
hold your cord out. Yeah.
Keep holding it. Okay.
Yeah, because either take them out and just use a regular mic, or you got to keep holding it like that. Otherwise, we'll get the clicking.
I didn't even realize that with these particular headphones, it diverts to this.
Yep.
That's crazy. Okay. So yeah, I'm kind of skeptical if this is going to be as definitive as the guy from AMC is saying. My personal theory is that it's going to be a similar situation where Disney and Sony were divorcing over Spidey about 6-8 months ago, whatever that was, and then they made nice, and they're still going to share the property, at least for now, a couple more films and stuff like that. So I think the reason negotiation was mentioned at the very end of the letter before getting all definitive and decisive is because the AMC guy he's coming in swinging, man. He's playing hardball, and he wants these negotiations to transpire. And I mean, theaters make all of their money off of people being inside and them selling concessions and all of that stuff. They don't really make much off ticket sales. That's primarily the theaters. And so some people, other friends of mine, that Lindsay from my 2 Cents of Nonsense, him and I were tweeting back and forth just a little while before you and I started this, and he thinks it's it's the beginning of the end of the theater experience. I'm not going to go that doomsday about it, but this is changes in the landscape, obviously. And the theater owners have their backs to the wall from all the money they've lost in the midst of this crisis. And they are very scared. And that's why I think that, especially with a summer movie season approaching where they're hoping they can start to reopen their theaters for their biggest money-making stuff, they're like, man, if I can't have this stuff in my theater exclusively like we've always had, it's going to be very problematic. And so they're trying to get Universal to back down is what I surmise, man. What do you think?
I think, yeah, they're playing chicken, and they're pissed that they weren't asked, beforehand. And I like that he's like, we could have figured out a way for us to both benefit. It's like, wait, so what are you going to do? You're not doing anything with the delivery of the movies to the home channel, and yet you want a piece of that, is I think what they want. Or at least they want to still maintain, a certain level of separation for a certain amount of time, maybe 2 months or whatever. They need to have that separation. And it's funny, I do agree with that sentiment in the letter where he says that a lot of people associate quality with theatrical experiences. If a movie makes it to a theater, it means it's automatically of a higher quality than otherwise. But honestly, with the advent and popularization and, frankly, commonization, what's the word I'm looking for? The fact that it's now available to everyone, the streaming services, you can't say that anymore. I mean, there's outstanding movies that are released straight to streaming services nowadays, which actually we got another news article today stating that the Oscars are now going to consider movies that weren't released in the theaters. So, like, it's such a big thing nowadays that you can't say that, it's funny. I used to say, is it movie level or is it like VHS level, right? Because I'm old enough to know that,
Same.
to say that. But that essentially what I meant was, is it theatrical or is it straight to DVD? Like, it was a determining factor as far as quality goes, at least when people describe movies. And so I think that's still the case in a lot of people's minds. Not in everyone's minds, but not everyone has access to all the streaming services that we do. So those people definitely do still have that differentiation. And so I can see why AMC is saying that. Hey, there needs to be a separation. But Universal, and one of the commenters asked, I wonder how Invisible Man and The Hunt did. Well, obviously, if after Trolls, they're like, we're going to do it, that means that they've taken into account the Invisible Man and The Hunt numbers as well. And so, like, yeah, all of our releases are going to do day and date both ways. To say that, which, by the way, is crazy in and of itself.
Movies, yeah.
That's crazy in and of itself for them to just outright say that without some kind of big, just in like a, I don't know. It seems crazy to go with right now, but hey, if they're sticking with it, more power to them. But it's weird how it came about. And now it's like two kids fighting on a playground, but I don't know, man. I think there's always going to be a place. So you said Lindsay, and you were talking about how Lindsay said it might be the beginning of the downfall for theaters. I don't think that'll ever be the case. Just like I don't think hard copy comic books will ever go away. I do think that they might become a more boutique experience, meaning you'll have to spend more money to do it, but you'll still be able to go to the theater to see movies. I mean, look, the single greatest argument against getting rid of the theaters entirely, or again, which no one's trying to do, but against letting theaters die out, I should say, would be more accurate. The single greatest argument against that is all of the reactions to Avengers Endgame that continue to float around now a year later, right? The Russo brothers tweeted out today, it's a year ago that we got to experience this in the theaters with everyone, and hopefully we'll get back to that situation soon. And it was just like a 2-minute clip from Avengers Endgame from inside a theater. And it's like, yes, that experience is never going to go away. There's still going to always be people that are going to want to go to a 150-foot screen instead of their, or a 150-inch screen, rather. 150 feet would be way big. But they're always going to want to go for the theatrical experience. It's not going to go away. It might diminish and theaters might close, but there's always going to be some theaters, especially now that they're doing dinner and drinks at theaters, that is never going to go away. There's always going to be people that want that theatrical experience.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, man. I think that it will regress significantly, and perhaps you don't have sustained weeks and weeks and weeks of as much box office just dollar being spent as many people if they have the option of staying home and only spending $20 and having as many of their friends and family and whatever over as possible. You save a significant amount of money on both the food, the drinks, all that other stuff. You're in the comfort of your home. You don't have to worry about a babysitter or driving around and paying for parking and all this other crap. There will be those that do that, but I think it'll almost become a thing like vinyl collecting, for instance, as opposed to people who want to just illegally download music or just, buy it from iTunes back when iTunes was a thing. I feel like purists will just continue to champion for it and things will forge forward. But I think box office, this is the changing of the industry for me significantly. And it's funny because there were murmurings of changes and little things happening here and there over the last couple of years. And it took a global just crisis of this magnitude to really just push things forward out of necessity and maybe out of just a few other intentions, beyond that as well. So, I mean, we're seeing changes, but it's like we're not going to see physical media no longer anywhere, and we're not going to see a death of the theater experience, at least for me. So
no, but so I think the way this is going to play out is this is the shock and awe of moment one. I think within a couple of days, just like you said, I think it'll be faster than the Sony Spider-Man deal. But just like that one, just like you said, I think that's a very appropriate analogy. I think that within a few days to maybe a week at the most, there will be some kind of deal struck where Universal will walk that back because AMC has, in the tens of thousands of theaters around the country. Right?
They have over 1,000
over
worldwide.
1,000 worldwide. Worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oof, I was giving them way more credit than I thought, but whatever.
But they are the largest theater chain in the entire world. So that's the biggest thing. If you're gonna draw the ire of the biggest theater chain in the entire world, then they make such a big declaration like this, especially with the way the letter, because it's nice and and shows concern and shows just kind of regret and really just does down the checklist of all the ways that they've tried to be okay with Universal. It really portrays Universal as the bad guy in this situation 100%. And I think they'll end up playing nice eventually. I think they will find some common ground. Some negotiations will in fact transpire. This is a developing story, but nonetheless, it was we had to jump on and talk about this, everybody, because of the fact that right when that THR article started going viral about an hour and a half ago, it was like, okay, yeah, this really warrants, opening up this. I don't know if it's a Pandora's box of an argument between these people, because I mean, theaters and just like the movie industry in general is very cutthroat, and everybody knows, and so I think this sort of decision probably hurts AMC more than it hurts Universal if it does in fact go forward. So
I agree, and especially if AMC is really teetering on the edge like they say they are, to be able or to feel that they're able to take this stance in the precarious position that they're in, it means one of two things: either AMC is ballsy as fuck, or it means that they really do think it's a principle that they need to stand by. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And especially if Universal didn't even bother trying to consult anyone, it's kind of shitty. It's like getting texted with to break up. You know what I mean? It's like, at least talk to me. Talk to me first. Let's discuss this, baby. Let's at least get on the same page. But just real quick, hello to Chris Bethel and Tony Movie Chappie D9, Neil Blomkamp, #1 fan. That's one person's. I think that might be the longest I've ever seen. Ashley Hoover and Crystal Sykes also showed up as well. Thank you both. So I think that it's a bit of posturing at this particular moment. I don't think that Universal is going to be okay with not putting their movies in the largest theatrical chain in the world. Yeah. But I think that they're going to, I don't know, it's weird. In today's day and age, stuff gets brought public. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you settle things, it feels like, is in the public eye. which isn't the way it should be, but that's the way it seems like it is nowadays. So
All too often. Damn right.
okay, so let's see. Do we want to move on to, because we'll get around to, we can do some Q&A towards the end of this, guys. So if you have some questions, start thinking of them, and then we'll ask for them towards the end. But there's another piece of news that we need to discuss that dropped yesterday that involves the third person on the picture behind us. This guy right here, Mr. Pinhead, having to do with Hellraiser. Now, Fuego, do you have the Hellraiser news available, or should I bring it up on my phone here?
Well, I mean, it's like a double down of information here, basically.
Yeah.
And so earlier this month, we had the announcement that there was a new Hellraiser film, a presumed remake, that was in production. It was going to be directed by David Bruckner, who did, oh goodness, what the hell was it? That monster movie, The Ritual?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the guy tackling, but so that is going to be a completely separate thing from what was announced yesterday and had the entire internet just going bonkers. So there's apparently also additional plans to expand on the universe with an HBO Hellraiser television series as well.
HBO, shit!
HBO doing it. And the thing that's even more exciting is written by none other than Trick or Treat, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Krampus's Michael Dougherty, writing it. And then also directing from David Gordon Green, who everybody knows from the most recent Halloween movie, and he's done a few other things.
Halloween trilogy.
Yeah,
Kills is coming from him too.
The other two. Yeah. So, I mean, that honestly seems like an even more exciting project than the film possibility, because I've always thought that, I don't have as much of a Hellraiser basis as you, since you've read a lot of those comics.
I don't know what you're referring to.
There, right there. and I haven't seen all of the sequels, especially after Doug Bradley left being Pinhead and stuff, disappointingly. But I feel like the Cenobites really, they adhere to an anthology essence of storytelling, different people. Maybe even they could jump to different, spots in history where the box was discovered by different people over the years. I mean, different things like that. I think that there is so much, it's such a large realm with an immense amount of room to tell stories within that could be self-contained, and for a television series could be super, super cool. Or maybe you do, I don't know, like seasons of a story, and then you go to a new cast of characters, a la American Horror Story or something like that. Or
keep going. I got to grab something from the shelf real quick.
Oh yeah, you're good. So I mean, this is the possibility that I see with Clive Barker's awesome, which everybody just listened to Clive Barker reading The Hellbound Heart for the first time since I've been in this self-quarantine craziness. I found it on YouTube, and hearing him read his own work was really awesome. And also just seeing that aside from a few little alterations here and there with, making a jealous lover into his daughter and, adding a boyfriend for her and a few other things, it's very much, I mean, it was a very accurately adapted work. And that's presumably because you had the original author writing and directing his own IP. So, and this is definitely one that it's languished in the VOD and in the direct-to-video realm for a while, but I still think there is such rich history and mythology with the Cenobites and with, Pinhead, as he later became, or she became a he, and everybody knows about that if you've read Hellbound Heart. But yeah, there's a lot to do in this bloody playground, and I'm, at this point, while I'm intrigued by the Bruckner feature film, I'm way more excited at this point about the HBO series. So
I agree. And so what I grabbed is this. This is the first of two trades that were put out by Boom Studios. It's called Hellraiser Masterpieces. And what it is it's a collection, it's an anthology of different stories set within the Hellraiser universe. And by that, I just mean it's different people that incur the wrath of Cenobites. And not all of them, in fact, very few of them are Pinhead. There are different Cenobites kind of assigned to each story, and I think it could absolutely translate into an anthological HBO series. Just have Pinhead be sort of the leader of the Cenobites, but have each episode be a different story. You could go two ways with the Hellraiser thing, and that's why I brought these comics over to show you guys. So in this one, there's stories from Neil Gaiman, who created Sandman, obviously, that is crossing over with Lock and Key later this year.
Oh boy.
story from Mike Mignola, who created Hellboy. There's a story from Alex Ross, who did the Kingdom Come artwork and is one of the biggest comic book artists ever. And then
Adore that guy.
There's even a story by Larry Wachowski in here, who did The Matrix, obviously. So there's a lot of really cool one-off stories that you could make into a series. And I don't know, I'm guessing the movie will try and kind of reboot the universe, whereas the series could maybe try and continue it, or vice versa. But if you didn't know, there is a bunch of Hellraiser comics that are Clive Barker's Hellraiser. In fact, there is 9 trade paperbacks. And this literally continues the story from Hellraiser 2 on. So it actually starts with Hellraiser, with Pinhead lamenting the fact that he is still doing the same thing, and it focuses on Kirsty and a couple of other survivors from the Hellraiser movies. And so Kirsty has to battle Pinhead again, but what's really interesting about the comics is that at one point, Kirsty becomes the new Pinhead. She literally becomes the new Pinhead, and so there's a female Pinhead being Kirsty herself, and so the whole story completely changes, and then you get, female Pinhead out there kicking ass. Now, I haven't actually read I've read the first 5 trades. I have not read the last 4. So, you guys know we do comic reviews on this channel, so that's what I'm going to focus on next. We'll get through the Hellraiser comics. We already did review volume 1 and 2 4 years ago on the channel, so that review is on the channel, but I can't
believe it's been that long, man. It's nuts.
I can't either, but yeah, it's crazy. Pinhead, they could make Kirsty Pinhead. Obviously, it would have to be a different actor at this point, but they could go a couple of different really cool ways with either Hellraiser project. And I'm dying to know which way. It's funny, now Pinhead's getting the Chucky treatment, right? Because Chucky got the new remake, and he's also getting the TV series. So, yeah, I don't know. Fuego, what are your thoughts on this whole thing? I mean, specifically.
Oh, well, I said a lot of it when you walked away just now, but I'm just very excited about the extent of expansion that they can really go with here. I'm much more excited about the HBO prospect, but I'm really more curious than anything else, like what Barker's potential involvement or lack thereof could really entail. I mean, is it just going to be EP? Is he going to be hanging around in the writer's room? Because granted, you always have somebody who does the final scripting, which will be Doherty, but I do wonder if there will be a writer's room sort of situation of just batting around possibilities for episodes, and then he does the final scripting. It does happen with a lot of these bigger horror properties. A lot of the time it's happened with the Stephen King shows like Castle Rock and a few others. So I'm pumped for this though, man. I'm actually, especially after rereading Hellbound Heart, like I was saying before you stepped away, and just getting a little reacquainted with just how visceral the discussion is in that original novella, and just the world building and everything that they did there. It's so goddamn intriguing, man, and it excites me that this property is seeing a proper resurgence. And I know I've never watched past 4. I think 4 was in space, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah, I haven't watched any past 4, and I know there's maybe 3 or 4 or 5 other ones even after that. But
there's 5 or 6, I think. Yeah.
But at this point, I kind of want to gobble up everything with regards to that property in preparation for these oncoming new projects, because I'm pretty intrigued, man, especially with the talent associated with both the film and with this TV series especially.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And if they, and that's the thing, because he's a makeup heavy character, we know that our man would come back to play the role if he wanted to, so.
No, I like your suggestion though about because as the mythology was expanded upon, right, it's basically, because I know he also wrote Scarlet Gospels, which is a continuation, which I've never read, but
crossed over with Lord of Illusions.
Exactly, the detective in that one. So I have to check out Scarlet Gospels now at some particular point.
I have it on my my Audible, so I'm down to go through that with you whenever you want, because I've never read a Clive Barker book. I've only seen the movies. And I used to hate Lord of Illusions. Now I really like it. So seeing them cross over, I'm really excited about. But I'm actually really excited to go through these books. Again, I remember the first 5 trades being really good, but then I haven't read beyond that, so I don't know how the Kirsty Pinhead story ends. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, actually, you have read the last book where the Hellraiser and Cabal universes collide. No, we didn't read the novel, but I did do a review in December of 2018 of the Hellraiser versus Nightbreed 2-issue comic book series, which was actually fucking awesome. Because I had just rewatched Nightbreed for our review of it, and I read the comics afterwards, so all the Nightbreed stuff was fresh, and damn, it was really good 2-issue series. So
yeah, I've still been wanting to check out that 3-hour Cabal cut. I'm not sure.
It's so good. I have it. I could give it to you.
Oh, nice. Okay.
yeah. Wait, no, you mean the even newer one than the director's cut.
One. Yeah,
exactly. They haven't put that out yet. No.
I wasn't sure if they had, but I thought we reported on it for the news many months ago at one particular point.
Oh, yeah, we did.
I mean, yeah, that's one that I actually found the audio book of Cabal floating around on YouTube as opposed to having to use an Audible credit. So I'm probably going to listen to that too. And I'm down with, just exploring Barker's universe properly. I've been wanting to make Barker at the Moon a thing for a while. I started Damnation Game. It wasn't doing it for me initially, and so I set it aside and just went back to more of the Books of Blood, since those being self-contained short stories, it's easier to get through one of those if you're not totally feeling it. But, we just did for Patreon Rawhead Rex, and that's based on another Clive Barker, so maybe 2020 will be the year that we properly start to explore his stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to start. And I honestly, it kind of pushed aside American Vampire because I'd rather get through Hellraiser before we get through the massive undertaking of American Vampire, because that's like so many pages, but we'll get through it. So yeah, bottom line is we're excited for more Hellraiser, and the fact that it's freaking HBO and that Michael Dougherty is the one scripting, like, that is crazy good news. It's unfortunately, to me, it feels like such good news that I don't want to put stock into it, because it's something that feels like it could go away real easily. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what I always say, the burden of expectation. And, when you're just so stoked to see something and then it kind of tightens the possibility of letdown. But this is one that I am pumped for. You dropped an F-bomb, so I'm going to drop another one, man. HBO doesn't fuck around with their original series, man. They never do. So for this project to land there, I'm actually confident. I don't have as much apprehension as I would if it was somewhere else. So
yeah, no, I agree. Oh man, HBO Hellraiser. That's match made in heaven territory, right? If you ask me, hey, where would you like to see a Hellraiser show go? It's either going to be Showtime or HBO, because those are the only two that I think would really go as far as we'd want a Hellraiser show to go. Because even though Netflix doesn't have the same restrictions, Netflix does not try and push that envelope like HBO and Showtime do. So yeah, I'm in love with the fact that it's HBO.
Yeah, maybe Prime, because Prime did The Boys.
That's true. But even The Boys, well... No, you're right. I guess it could work there, but I'm happy it's HBO. With the track record that we've been getting from HBO recently with Chernobyl and Watchmen and, a lot of other things that, it's definitely something I'd be excited about.
Yeah, well, it's the most prestigious of the long-standing premium, cable/streaming destinations. I mean, wasn't Home Box Office the first of those channels even before Showtime and Cinemax came around?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. And so they've set a precedent since the 80s for just, especially with their original programming and films and event series and stuff like that. Like, they were kind of the granddaddy of all of that stuff. And that's why they're launching HBO Max, which you have to believe this will also be there as well.
I have HBO Max. I'm waiting for the Warner Brothers app where they combine it with DC and everything.
Well, and that's what they're planning, and that's actually where I could segue into another story right now.
Please do, because I'm done with my stories. So
yeah. Well, that's the 2 projects that were announced about a week or so ago for HBO Max. You have the Justice League Dark series coming to HBO Max.
What? That's a series? I thought they were doing a movie.
They decided to change it and move it over to HBO Max.
Oh, they better bring in... So Robert and I, we recorded our review of Swamp Thing. the series Swamp Thing. And I even mentioned at the end of the review, I'm like, if for the new Justice League Dark they're doing, they better bring in this Swamp Thing, because they did. Derek Mears did such a good job, and the show was cut so short. That review is actually coming up Friday on the channel if you guys are interested. It's a 20-minute discussion about the Swamp Thing TV series on DC Universe. And the fact that they're making it for HBO, are you kidding me?
It's going to be a project on HBO Max. And this was not one of the articles that I had ready to go, but I just definitely wanted to get some more.
Did they mention whether Constantine will be the same guy that played Constantine on his show?
The one thing that they did not mention is which characters would actually be featured in this particular incarnation of the group. I don't know. It's
Swamp Thing, Constantine, and Zatanna have to be there.
Well, there's already articles as I look at it right now. Matt Ryan should be Constantine on HBO Max's Justice League Dark. That's what there's all kinds of critical contentions about it already. But it's exciting news right here, man, as far as this particular property and what they could potentially do with it. I'm not that familiar with the comic book. I know that was it first launched when they did the New 52?
Yes.
That was the first time I saw, like, at least that incarnation of the team. And
it focused on the more magic characters and the magic bad guys, and because Swamp Thing is kind of magic, Constantine is magic, Zatanna is magic, so and I think the Demon Etrigan was on the original team as well. He has to do with magic. He's the rhymer, so every time he talks, he has to rhyme.
Yeah, that's right. He was in oh goodness, he was the guy who's like a killer. It was in the Batman universe, and I think the Demon. It was also written by Garth Ennis. God damn it, it's totally eluding me the name of this particular.
Hitman.
Hitman, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
You're lucky you're talking to as big a nerd as you are. I have every issue of Hitman. He's a fucking great character.
I've got the first couple trades, and so the one thing that is causing some people apprehension is
dude, the fact that Mikey Mnemonic knows what the rot is awesome, because they're the best Swamp Thing not the best, but some of the best Swamp Thing came out of the New 52 when it was Charles Soule, and then Animal Man, which was written by Jeff Lemire, and they crossed them over. So Animal Man is like an avatar of the red, and Swamp Thing is an avatar of the green, and they were both up against an avatar of the rot. And it was fucking great. It was like 18 issues in both series. It was so good.
Now, Snyder was actually writing Swamp
Thing.
Yeah,
he started Swamp Thing, and then Charles Soule took over. Yeah.
Okay, took over. Okay.
Yeah, Snyder is amazing, but he's in the middle. He's literally they put off his next series because he did DC Comics Metal, where they did the the evil DC universe kind of thing.
It was with the weird Joker looking.
Yeah, the Batman who laughs. Yeah.
Okay.
But the next series that he's doing is the sequel to it called it's called Metal. It's just called Metal. And it's so badass because they're just like, yeah, metal. But yeah, dude, all of that stuff is so good. And if they do the DC or the Justice League Dark right, bring in Matt Ryan, bring in the Derek Mears Swamp Thing. Oh, it'd be so good. Because they kind of look the crossover this year in the CW universe kind of made all of the DC live action stuff one big, multiple dimensional universe. Because
and that was the Crisis.
The Crisis, exactly. Yeah. Where literally the Flash from the 80s was a part of our world. They even touched on the 90s Birds of Prey series that only lasted like 9-ish episodes. Like, so everything that's ever been done DC live action is a part of this, so this could also, they need to bring in the stuff that we're aware of. Anyway, sorry, I got real nerdy there. But
No, you're fine, Didn't they eschew the Lois and Clark because Dean Cain was already playing another character or something?
Yes, wasn't that the thing? Yeah. But they had that, I don't believe that, because they had the dude that plays the Atom, who was also the guy that played Superman in Superman Returns. He played both characters. He played the Atom and
Brandon Routh. Right?
Yeah, Brandon Routh. He played the Atom and the Kingdom Come Superman. So I don't believe that. They could have had them do both, double duty. Because yeah, technically Terry Hatcher is Supergirl's mom on this or no, sorry, Terry Hatcher is the leader of the Daxamites on the Supergirl show, and Dean Cain.
Okay.
Dean Cain is related to someone on the Supergirl show. I think he was her father, Kara's father. So yeah, they it would have confused things, but hey, they could have done it anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, again, super nerdy DC guy right here.
There you go. But the other same announcement that came that very same day, and this is where people have a little bit of apprehension about the people producing the project, because I didn't mention that Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams' company they're going to be the ones actually behind both the Justice League Dark show and another show, which I am very intrigued by, but people have just apprehension because of the fact that he just got done also doing Castle Rock, which some people liked and some people like me had some reservations about certain aspects of it. That doesn't all fall on him. That falls on the writer's room more so than anything else.
Yeah, but now we're getting the Overlook. Fuck Castle Rock.
And that's exactly what I was going to segue into. And so I think more so than anything, this just shows that, okay, we're not doing any more seasons of Castle Rock. We are going to do the Overlook. It's probably a little bit more of a visible property because people just adore The Shining. And I don't think people often even remember what stories, as far as the very casual Stephen King fan and like just casual film goers, did they really remember that distinctively that Cujo took place in Castle Rock? Did
no,
they really
if anything else, it was
Dead
Needful
Zone
Things. Needful Things would be the only connection I would have made to Castle Rock were it not for you being in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Constant reminder, man. Beat you over the head with it a lot of the time. But yeah, a lot of just casual people don't really, like casual horror fans, they don't remember all the different stories that have taken place in Castle Rock. And so for that reason, I feel like finally doing the Overlook, and they were actually trying to make it into a film for a long time. And so Overlook...
Well, I'm glad they're not then, because Dr. Sleep put to bed the ultimate Overlook story, in my opinion. Yeah. Now what I feel like this story is going to tell is everything that happened in between The Shining and Dr. Sleep. Like, that's the way I'm going to look at it.
Well, it could be it's supposedly going to be the before, which is what it was always.
Before The Shining, even?
Before The Shining. Because
okay.
In the book itself.
Okay.
Okay. But they basically, there's when Jack Torrance is going through all these newspaper clippings and learning about the history of the hotel and all the super weird shit that went down there before, the residual evil presence that was there that was presumably bringing a lot of this about, that is what this is presumably going to explore. But maybe in a second season you learn about what happened with the property with it being closed down, because there's two different versions of continuity. You've got your book continuity where it was where the hotel was destroyed after The Shining,
and then the Dr. Sleep
at the end of it, and then you have the Dr. Sleep continuity.
I'll bet the Dr. Sleep continuity is most people's continuity at this point.
Yeah, which is what this show, also a Bad Robot show, would be.
Let's play for just a couple minutes here. So were that to be the show, what you just described, you'd have to almost open up. Okay, oh my God, how fun would this be? Let's call it a 10-episode series, right? And you tell the Shining story in wraparound, right? So it starts with them arriving, and he starts to look through, and like he looks at a picture in episode 1. And then we go into the picture, and then the picture comes to life, and then we get the story of the person in that picture for that episode. And then, like, as in episode 2 starts, and we're back in the present with Torrance and all them, and he finds like a news article, and then we go into the news article and we tell that story and shit like that. And then over the course of the 10 episodes, he gets crazier and crazier and crazier. So that way, at the end, in episode 10. He gets the final story, which maybe is about the bartender, right, that actually killed people and shit like that, Lloyd, that we never knew or whatever. And then we show Jack snap, and that's how the first season would kind of end, and then we can move on. I don't know. Again, I'm just having a little bit of fun since we're talking.
No, that's it could definitely work. I mean, incident by incident, have a self-contained episode about some weird stuff that went down. I'm just really curious how they will structure it, as you're saying, if they will, because anything bad robot.
They'd have to be
I
people
would
that
imagine,
stayed at the hotel. I don't mean to interrupt, but let's just it's the Overlook. So let's just have people from the King universe roll through the Overlook and stay for various reasons.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, based on the fact that the history of the hotel does expand decades and decades into the past, it does make me wonder if they would turn it into a Castle Rock sort of thing, where it would be an amalgamation and bringing in other characters from King's respective works and putting them out of place and out of time, so to speak. If that would
What
be
if
the
one
approach.
episode was the follow up to the Annie Dukes Castle Rock season, where like one episode is her showing up at the hotel to stay after the events of season 2 of Castle Rock? That'd be pretty dope.
Could be interesting. I mean, it was the best thing about the second season of Castle Rock was her performance. I mean, Lizzie Kaplan killed it. No pun intended in that particular regard, especially with that final episode. My God, when you realize she's completely gone off the deep end of insanity.
She was the best thing about that, for sure.
She was.
I love you, Michael, but hey, that's just a theory. A Cecil theory. I love it.
Yeah, this is what I'm excited about, though, man. I feel like in just the history of this property, with the mobster shit that they said went down, with the fact that it was a prestigious property, and they talk about how, presidents have stayed here and all of these different important people, movie stars, whatever. They could really just do their own thing, or they could try to make it more in the spirit of Castle Rock and fold in other characters that are, not quite in there. It just makes me wonder if it is going to be like a full-on period piece, because that's what I was initially thinking it would be, because the history of the hotel goes so far back, but
let me interrupt just briefly based on a comment by Corey Novak, friend of the show. What if a man dressed in Western garb, maybe kind of hanging out with a little boy, showed up, like the time that Roland showed up in our world or whatever, if that's an actual thing from the books and not just the shitty movie. Like, and he stayed at the Overlook or something. That'd be pretty dope.
Could be interesting. Once again, they have so much just freedom to play.
Corey just blew your mind.
He didn't necessarily blow the mind, and shout out to Corey, man. Much love, homie. That Castle Rock obviously showed that you don't have to have continuity context to do your own damn thing, because of the fact that, as I've tried to get myself to accept, it's a different level of the tower, it's another turn of the wheel. King has so many different alternate dimensions, as he's laid them out, alternate realities that, sometimes things are very similar, sometimes things are drastically different. You could do something weird like that, where, Jake and, Roland actually had some strange, doorway that they went through and they end up there. It could be, I don't know. It's like a fanboy wet dream sort of situation if you had something like that. I would hope there would be a good story to tell, as opposed to just making it a novelty Easter egg sort of situation, as all too often happens, most notably with Castle Rock, which was notorious for doing that, where it didn't always serve a purpose a lot of the time. But
I'm gonna piggyback real quick on CK2D. He said that's where Bob Gray spends his 26-year vacations. Even if you can't touch on him because he's hibernating, be really fucking cool if someone could open a door that's numbered, something that would tie in with it, and all you see is like a cocoon, like a massive cocoon in the corner of the room, and they just shut the door and it's just Pennywise, in the cocoon resting for his 27 years in the Overlook Hotel. That'd be fucking cool.
Yeah, some strange connective doorway that goes right underground to Derry.
Yeah, just make Overlook.
Yeah,
make the Overlook like kind of the train station for all of the Stephen King people.
Well, it would make it a thinny, essentially, where there's different overlapping essences of story and reality and things of that nature. I mean, once again, they have so much they could do. The sky's the limit. They just have to make it tasteful. They have to really have it serve a purpose, I think. And Castle Rock didn't always do that for me, and that was one of the biggest things. But as far as commercial viability and the iconic nature of The Shining, Kubrick's The Shining, really more so than anything for just very casual moviegoers and fans of film alike, it definitely has a much better chance of being a success, I would say, at least if the team that they get to write and direct and, some good actors involved and everything is relatively strong. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I'm on board for it, man. I didn't realize that. You said that's HBO too?
There was a joint announcement where Bad Robot is producing two new programs for the upcoming HBO Max, one of which will be Overlook and the other which will be the Justice League Dark series.
Damn,
They will
that's
both be
crazy.
series.
Based
Yeah.
on this, on the success of Watchmen, no doubt. Because
Hmm.
man, Watchmen killed it on HBO. Killed it. Woo! It's such a good show too.
And that sort of makes me wonder if these will run on the regular network and then be available on demand on HBO Max, or like what sort of
Yeah,
distinction
no, it'll probably be
between the
no, it'll
two
probably be
it's all going to
run on
entail.
HBO and then it'll go on the streaming service just like all the other ones. I have to use the little boys' room. Can you talk to the audience for just a second?
Yeah, I can hang for a moment.
All right.
For sure, for sure. I will have to bring up the questions and all of the insight. And guys, thanks so very much for doing this along with us. It is supremely appreciated. I'm trying to get back to the live feed of the chat since I've just been ranting and raving and going along. Hopefully everybody is staying safe. It's a term that almost annoys me at this particular point, because at least here in the States, it's what everybody says. They're like, stay safe, stay healthy. We're like, okay, yeah, and I appreciate the sentiment, but it's almost like beating a red-headed dead horse at this particular point when I've been getting as stir crazy. There's only so much I can watch and read and do, and it's been fun in that regard. But I'm gonna just take a brief little look. I know it's always in just good care and consideration, but it just feels like a flippant sentiment that most people are putting forth. So okay, so we have Jonathan Nichols just jumped on. Sky says, or have Christine parked at the hotel. And I mean, yeah, stay alive, exactly. That's what I'm trying more so to do, man. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay alive. Yeah, well, it's like the three stages in that regard. You're like stay healthy, and then it turns into stay safe, and then as the full zombie apocalypse transpires, stay alive. I don't know. After reading the Newsweek stuff today about how all of this might have been accidentally released from Wuhan and some of the very controversial experiments that they were doing there, my guitar player in Chiron, Mahalo, he messages me today, and he's like, did you see this Newsweek article? It is Resident Evil after all, man. And I'm just like, oh boy, I don't want to go that far and speculate to that degree. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to stay as positive as possible in the midst of all this zaniness. And yeah, that's about where we're at, Shaw.
All right, so we have Michael M saying, I've watched so many series during this quarantine. Yeah, me too. I've actually watched a lot of, or played a lot of games I've been behind on during the quarantine. Richard Weiskopf. Hi, guys. My first time live chat. What's up, Richard?
Yeah.
Savannah, Christina Heffron. What's up, Savannah? Good to see you. What we are going through should be made into a movie. Oh, you know it's going to be, Joshua. You know it's going to be made.
It's been documented in similar fashions various times by various people.
Yeah.
Purely speculative at those points, but yeah, it does feel like we're living in a movie.
Yeah, 100%. So, do you have another story there, Fuego?
Oh, I've got a few different things. So,
all right.
Well, I mean, if we're going to continue with... well, everybody knows, just to be brief about the fact that there's been lots of release date shuffles and things of that nature. If we're going to segue into comic book stuff, I was very intrigued about the addition of Sam Raimi coming on to direct the Doctor Strange Madness in the Multiverse film, although unfortunately, based on the fact that all of these different Marvel films are being reshuffled and pushed back and rescheduled and everything, it has gone from, I believe, May of 2021 to now March of 2022. So we have a long time to wait to see Marvel just re-embracing and bringing back Sam Raimi to direct a film that is supposed to be leaning towards the horror side of things. I don't know. Do you like the idea of Sam Raimi doing the Doctor Sleep sequel?
Doctor Strange? Yes. I absolutely do.
Doctor Sleep. News and boost. Yay.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. And it's funny, you guys, or someone brought up the Theory channel, Film Theory, Game Theory earlier. Film Theory put out a really cool episode recently that was all about why they think Black Widow will not be put out on VOD, why it needs to be theatrical, is because he thinks it's literally kicking off the fourth, what is it? The fourth
phase.
Fourth phase, yeah.
Yeah.
So I highly encourage anyone that's interested to go watch Film Theory's most recent video about the Dark Avengers, because it makes a lot of sense. Where in the comics, Thunderbolt Ross became the Red Hulk as part of the Dark Avengers, and the Red Hulk is a heat generating entity. He doesn't get stronger the angrier he gets. He gets hotter the angrier he gets. And Film Theory points out that the character played by what's his name in Iron Man 2 that we all like, Sam Rockwell. Sorry, not Sam Rockwell, rather Guy Pearce. He plays the leader of a company called AIM, who was creating the extremist guys for Iron Man 3, I think. So the guys that were, all their skin was super, strong and all that stuff. And so those guys have to do with heat being generated. And so AIM, we already know, is a part of Black Widow, because in the trailer, there's one little box that has the AIM on it. So the idea, and plus we also saw in the trailer that Thunderbolt Ross is back, playing a bigger role, de-aged, right? William Hurt's character comes back. He's the one that becomes the Red Hulk in the comics. So now that he's back, and Extremis is back, or AIM is back, who creates kind of the Red Hulk situation, they think that's going to be what happens by the end of Black Widow. You're going to see a Red Hulk, and that's why they can't release it to VOD, because that's too big of a deal for the phase going forward, setting up the fact that there's going to be an evil Avengers that are eventually going to be run by Norman Osborn, now that they can bring Norman Osborn in as a result of the new Spider-Man films. He hasn't been wasted yet. So it's a really intelligent video, and that's what I think is going to happen. So it's crazy to think, but that's why all of Marvel movies are shifting. Instead of Black Widow just being dropped on VOD and them keeping the rest, they know that Black Widow has to be a theatrical experience so people can buy into Phase 4 and continue to come back. That's why all of Marvel's movies shifted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was also because of a global pandemic, but nonetheless, I mean, I would never think that that's one that, like, no Marvel movie is going to be dumped to that sort of format, because of the fact that if there's anything that just dictates being seen on the biggest screen possible, it's these summer event films, the Marvel films, like big stuff like Godzilla King of the Monsters, like we saw last year. I mean, these are things that need to be seen on the biggest screen possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody is totally fine with something like, some might argue, if you like the YA books, Artemis Fowl, and some of these other things that are going direct to VOD now, because of the fact that there's really, only a few different studios that seem okay with the particular idea. But I mean, really, yeah, they have to shift some things around, which is fine, and they also have to find an identity for this Phase 4, man, because when you had such a buildup of awesomeness over a decade, like 20 films and everything, a lot of people, myself included, because I'm not as in-depth into the comic lore as you, I've just been wondering, okay, what do they do? I've heard stuff like Secret Wars. I've heard stuff, I think maybe a person or two has even mentioned Dark Avengers or West Coast Avengers.
Namor is going to be coming things too.
Yeah, well, which they mentioned that Earthquake or whatever it was, and that, like, in somewhere in the Pacific Ocean or something. I don't know. I know that's a character, though, that has similar rights issues to Hulk, where it couldn't have its own movie, but it could be used in other movies as a supporting character.
Move your hand just a little bit lower. I think your fingers are actually touching the microphone, so it's still doing the scratchy thing.
Oh, is it?
So,
okay.
Yeah. If you hold it underneath that, I think you're okay.
Kristopher
Santiago, I love the show. You guys, you need to. I'm assuming he says you guys need to review the R-rated anime Mortal Kombat Legends: Scorpion's Revenge, best adaptation to date. It's funny you bring that up. Yeah, we both have a copy from Redbox sitting over there by our TVs, ready to watch and review. So that review will be coming soon. Savannah, Iron Man is my favorite superhero. How's it going with Dylan's New Nightmare, she asked. I'm actually going to be doing, I tentatively have planned a update video or an update stream planned for Friday night. So I'm going to get Dave McCrae on, and we're going to do an update after our script reading yesterday, and I'll update everyone on what's going on with Dylan's New Nightmare, which CK2D made me laugh because of the new Oscar stipulations, Dylan's New Nightmare could technically be eligible for Oscars now. Technically, that's true.
Mm.
So anyway, Fuego, do you have another story for us?
Well, I was going to ask you if we're going to keep in the comic book realm, and just to at least finish off the last mention, I'm actually very stoked to see what Sam Raimi does with Doctor Strange and seeing his return.
Oh yeah, I never actually circled around to that. Yeah, no,
to the realm of comic book stuff.
Obviously, Sam Raimi knows his way around horror and comedy with the Evil Dead series and Drag Me to Hell, so I'm not concerned about that at all. Yeah. It's a shame that it's not Scott Derrickson, but I still think that Sam Raimi could do a really awesome, scary Doctor Strange as long as they do it. It depends on the story, but I absolutely have every confidence that Sam Raimi can deliver an amazingly entertaining Marvel movie with horror elements. 100%. Yeah. I don't know that I could think of a better person for it, to be honest.
Same, yeah. And as much as I love Derrickson's take on it and stuff, he did depart over creative differences with the studio, similar to what happened with Edgar Wright over Ant-Man. And sometimes you bring in another director and we can always speculate what the previous one would have looked like and how it would have felt and everything. But if Raimi is willing to play ball within the universe, I feel like he is that sort of guy who can push the PG-13 rating, as he showed with Drag Me to Hell. And even some of the edgier stuff in Spider-Man 2. I mean, I really enjoyed how he approached superhero storytelling. I think he's going to do a kick-ass job. And now that frees up Scott Derrickson to make Heart-Shaped Box and adapt Joe Hill's thing, which we still don't have a confirmation about yet, but I'm still fingers firmly crossed about. So.
Mikey Mnemonic says, I like the R-rated Marvel stuff. Avengers for me sucked. Too much fanfare. I grew up on DC and Shonen Jump. The R-rated Marvel stuff is great. Logan and Deadpool. And Mikey, I want to ask, have you given a gander to the R-rated Harley Quinn on DC Universe? Because that is phenomenal. It's so good. King Shark literally bites people in half, and yet he's voiced by Ron Funches. There's F-bombs galore. It's just so, so good. By the way, speaking to someone off camera, the surprise F-bombs in the Community series finale were fucking hilarious. We all know there's something fucking wrong with you, Abed. I was like, whoa, what did he say? I rewinded it like 3 times. Sorry, side discussion with producer Dave. He told me I need to watch Community now that it's on Netflix, and here I am about a week and a half later, completely done with all 6 seasons. So what can I say? It's a really funny show. I'm so in love with the Harley Quinn show, says Zachary Haith. 100%. Harley Quinn is so good, and the fact that they were ready with season 2, like a month and a half to 2 months after season 1, is so awesome. It's so good, and the idea behind season 2, Fuego, is Harley and her gang are hunting down all of the Bat villains to kill them. They start off by literally killing the Penguin, and I was like, yes, I've been wanting them to kill the Penguin for so long. He's the most useless Bat villain there is. I hate the Penguin. I was so happy to see that.
No, so isn't Poison Ivy, like Bat villain, a part of her crew though? From what I saw
but her best friend, and who's also played by, she's played by a girl. Oh God, I'm gonna blank on her name, but we've reviewed movies with her in them. Oh God.
Haven't they also been lovers previously as well?
It's funny. Someone reminded me that there was a joke in a Harley Quinn comic where someone once looked at her because she had a swollen tongue. They're like, how did you get Poison Ivy on your tongue? And she doesn't really respond.
Oh, boy. Well,
I was like, yeah, good stuff.
I'd watch that for sure.
What's up, Scorpio Reacts? Good to see you. I've been binging Community as well. Only a few episodes left. Oops, sorry, Crystal. I didn't mean to ruin the finale for you. It's great. Community is a lot of fun. If you guys haven't tried Community, it's a really fun show because it's made by Dan Harmon, the creative force behind Rick and Morty. So if you like that kind of oddball humor, there's a lot of it in there. He turns the sitcom formula on its head multiple times, so it's really fun.
And it's a stacked cast too. I didn't make my way through all of the seasons of it. It was one that I kind of fell off on, just like with Parks and Rec. I kind of fell off on it over the years, but I mean, you have Chevy Chase on a sitcom, for God's sake, and just various. And Joel McHale is great. He gets to jump between the 2 different hotties on the show, which is kind of funny to me. So yeah.
By the way, one of the hotties being the main character on Glow.
Yep.
for the last 3 seasons, for the 3 seasons it's been on, and then yeah,
She
it's
goes
really
around showing her goodies in that too, if I remember correctly.
a
Oh,
little bit, not really, not
a little
much.
bit,
I
not
mean,
as much.
I know you hate on women for doing that, so.
Mm.
Let's see. Ben Grimm is here. She's on a plant-based diet. Let's see. I've got. Oh, that's funny. I just picked it up on that.
That's really funny.
Christopher Santiago says, "I heard the Harley Quinn animated show is better than the Birds of Prey movie. I need to watch seasons 1 and 2." Yeah, it 100% is. The Harley Quinn show is the best. The Harley Quinn show is the best animated DC thing since the original Batman and Superman shows. There hasn't been anything that's been more entertaining at all.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how DC
I said the same thing, Zachary. It's funny.
DC and Warner Brothers being behind them and everything with all of these productions and stuff. Unlike with Marvel and their animated stuff, I've heard from you and from Luis, occasional collaborator on the show and stuff, that like the animated DC stuff, they just let them go for it with violence and with language and all kinds of craziness, and that it's much more entertaining because of it. So.
Yeah, Mikey, I actually listened to a shit ton of the Harmontown podcast. I just got tired of Dan using it to bitch about Trump every single fucking week, so I stopped. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I like the when they play D&D, but the rest of it, he complains about Trump too much, so I bailed on it like a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Zachary Hayes says, "I heard Harley and Ivy might become lovers. Poor Kite Man." I heard the same thing, and that's why I was like, "Oh, but she's with Kite Man. How can that be?" Yeah, Kite Man's not going to be in the picture for very long. Let's see. Does Netflix have the Community season that was on Yahoo? Yeah, they have the entire series, all 6 seasons. So, let's see.
Well, the thing I have to just address real quick, since it was asked, I think, twice by Joshua Sarantine. So, Scott Derrickson is rumored to be adapting a Joe Hill story. And we don't know when that is coming in the timeline because of the fact that Derrickson was just rumored to be attached to another project as well. I think it was like another horror film of some sort, since that's really his bread and butter. He did Sinister, right, if I remember correctly? Yeah, but if there's anything that has not been adapted from Joe Hill that I would love to see, since the second season of Nosferatu is coming this summer. We already saw Horns. They're trying to get Fireman off the ground. And actually, a lot of people hate on it, but The Fireman by Joe Hill is one that I really, really like. And it's another post-apocalyptic sort of story that people compared to his father's work, The Stand. I feel like
I'd rather Heart-Shaped Box, though. What would you rather between the two? Yeah, Heart-Shaped Box?
Because I love Judas Coin, man, and I want to see that eccentric weirdo.
Judas Coin is you in like 20 years.
Oh boy, I hope not. A snuff film and all kinds of other weird.
No, the fact that he's like an aged rocker. That's all. That's the only thing I was making.
If I'm so lucky, yeah, I guess. But no, that is what Derrickson Joshua is rumored to be directing. Well, I'm hoping it's Heart-Shaped Box, but there's nothing confirmed. There's just been lots of rumors swirling. So.
Yeah, Wenceslas Acosta here. Wenceslas, a long time buddy that's kind of gone silent sometimes. There never was a Community movie. Yeah, the whole idea was 6 seasons in a movie, and in fact, on the last episode, they even put up a hashtag and a movie. So I think even producer Dave was saying that he read that it's more popular now than it's been in a long time because of the Netflix thing.
That's what happens,
they might be able to actually get the Community movie going. And Wences says, "I wanted a Community movie personally, but from Abed's perspective, since he's the believer of timelines, I think, yeah, obviously it would have to be advanced movie making instead of because there's a series of episodes that's documentary filmmaking that Abed is in control of. So I think it would have to be advanced filmmaking would be the name of the movie, and so, or at least the name of the episode, movie, whatever." But yeah, Joel McHale and Ken Jeong have a podcast now called The Darkest Timeline. Yeah, I actually just noticed that, and I listened to a little bit of episode 5 and sent it over to producer Dave also. All right, circling back, getting away from Community now. Samuel Glass, was this whole thing nuts or what? Yeah, definitely the news story is nuts. Samuel, I know I messaged you today, but yeah, Fuego and I did watch The Corpse of Anna Fritz, and that review is coming soon, but it's a good recommendation, sir. Thank you for that recommendation.
I was impressed, man. It was not what I thought it was going to be. So
no, in the same way, we expected to hate a Serbian film, but we liked it, and we were worried about this one, but we really liked it as well. So, all right, Fuego, is there another story?
Well, there's apparently going to be a new Goosebumps television series. So the same team behind the last two live action films, they are going back to the well and as opposed to trying to make a third film, even though both of them were, quite profitable from what I've read, looking at the numbers, box office, stuff like that. They're now trying to do another television series, which the 90s Fox Kids series that was produced up in Canada, I was a big fan of. Piano Lessons Can Be Murder being one of my absolute favorites. I was a fan of this stuff. I know the Goosebumps thing was a little bit, after your time since you're a few years older than me, but I don't know. Are You Afraid of the Dark just had a little resurgent series that had the kid. He was one of the stars from, he was in It, and then he migrated over to the Goosebumps franchise, and then also in Are You Afraid of the Dark, right? So, do you think the viability is there? The brand still means enough to people, especially younger people?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
No, I think so for sure, especially after those two movies. The brand is still viable, and when I finally got around to seeing the second movie, the fact that Jack Black did show up in it lent a certain level of continuity to them that I think, there's a bunch of kids out there that are probably now teenage that would love to see an extension of sort of that vibe. So I don't think it's a bad idea. And after Marcia and I watched and reviewed the new Are You Afraid of the Dark series, I absolutely think it could be good and well done. So I'm on board for it. I'll definitely watch it. We'll give it a review. I didn't watch the old series the way Marcia did, but she watched Are You Afraid of the Dark, not Goosebumps, but.
It was vice versa for me, whereas I didn't have cable, so I couldn't watch Are You Afraid of the Dark. So since it was on regular TV, Fox Afternoon, Goosebumps was what I watched and stuff. And so that was the difference there. And there's a spot for YA horror, man, and like young adult scary stuff. Look how well Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and that was what I was going to double down on this story with, is that they just announced that Andre Abradal and Guillermo del Toro are both returning for a now confirmed second Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie. So that is officially going into production as well. So I feel like there has to be, as opposed to just throwing some kid in almost like, right into the boiling water, maybe like slowly ease them in a little bit, especially if they're younger, if they're like 8, 9, 10, whatever. I know it's different for different kids. I don't have any kids, so I don't know. Maybe you're showing your 5-year-old Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors or something. Who the hell knows? That's your prerogative, obviously. But, nonetheless, I feel like there needs to be good starter horror. Another one with Jack Black that you and I both saw about a year or so ago, the Eli Roth movie, The House with the Clock in Its Walls. As far as like beginner horror for young kids, I thought that was good. And it's helpful to have destinations for that so that you don't, I don't know, just like scare the living bejesus out of them and maybe turn them off to scary films, and then they don't want to watch anything. Maybe just ease them in. That's what I would at least say.
Yeah. So. Crystal Sykes, I'm so mad I missed the new Are You Afraid of the Dark? You didn't really. It was only available on a certain thing. The first episode, I think, is still free on YouTube, but it's only like $8, $7.99 on Amazon to get the other 2 episodes. So I would say, Crystal, watch the first episode on YouTube. If you like it enough, just pay the $8. You're paying $4 an episode. They're long episodes. They're like an hour to an hour and a half each, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
I know they're at least an hour. I thought they may be an hour and a half.
I want to say, right? It was like an event series, like 4 episodes.
Three
like
episodes, but they were longer. So it's definitely worth the $8. Yeah. So Crystal, I would highly recommend it. Look it up on Amazon and just pay the $8 to watch it because it's really good. Samuel asks, have a question for you both. If theaters go the way of the dodo, will this be a major advantage for indie filmmakers who are finding it hard to break through before? I feel like maybe no, because I feel like now all of the people that were going to be straight in theater are now going to be clogging the VOD menus and stuff, whereas now it's going to be even harder to cycle through, because now you got to go through the theatrical things in order to get to the VOD things, and then you got to find the horror amongst the VOD things, then you have to find a specific horror amongst the VOD things. So I think it might make it a little bit harder, but only because of app search aspect and the fact that people are lazy when searching for things. What do you think, Fuego?
I'm kind of in your camp, but for different reasons. I don't really feel like a lot of those indie films play well in theaters to begin with. They never really generate some significant box office, and a lot of really smaller filmmakers. I mean, granted, horror has a niche, and low budget sci-fi typically sucks, unfortunately, unless it has a really great concept and it's self-contained. But it just doesn't have the budget a lot of the time to make stuff look really convincing. And there's not as much theatrical liability, in my estimation, anymore for the low budget drama. That's the kind of thing that I'm much more content watching at home as a film goer anyway. And I feel like a lot of people like Marriage Story. It got Academy Award nominations. And so granted, I'm not going into horror territory here, but just to make an example, everybody, it's like that was something that was put, for like brief in theaters, and then it was just only streaming. I feel like those smaller indie sort of self-contained films, they play better VOD, they play better with streaming services. And so I don't know. Lots of those people that I speak to see more success when they don't try to do a marketing campaign for theatrical distribution. It just plays better when it's online. So,
Samuel asks an interesting question. He asks it to you, Fuego, but I'm going to chime in anyway. Fuego, I've always been of the mindset that you should use the classics to ease young ones into it. Vincent Price, Boris Karloff, the usual suspects. It's a good proving ground, no? So you answer first, then I'll answer.
It's differing mentalities, obviously. I think if a parent has an affinity and appreciation for those older stuff like the Universal Monster
hold your thing. Just
I still was. I guess it's just...
I don't know. It's clicking a lot again for some reason. I think when you hold it up like you were, it's better.
Okay.
I know it's not good. Or just yank them out. Yank them out. Let's see if it's bad. I don't think I was getting feedback when you didn't have them in. So just unplug them. Unplug them from your computer and let's see how it sounds. I don't think I was getting feedback.
Well, then it's going to go to the microphone that's on.
I know. Let's try it. All right, go ahead.
How am I sounding in comparison?
You sound better, but now you can hear my feedback. So, all right, plug them back in.
All right, sorry.
No, it was worth a try.
Technical stuff, guys. Yeah.
We'll have to get you got to get some actual just regular headphones without a microphone on them.
Oh, well, I have those too. It's just I wasn't using them because I was worried that this mic would sound like shit.
No, it sounds fine. It sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so next time just use those so it won't switch over your mic as well.
Okie.
No worries. Hey, look, at least we know, right?
And knowing is half the battle. Go, Joe.
G.I. Joe!
American hero. No, but if a parent has an affinity for the older classical stuff, it's good to give your children an appreciation of what came before. I still worry though if a lot of kids.
Is that what you'd show your kids if you had a kid right now?
You would have to be very specific with what you show them, though, man. I mean, I just don't necessarily know how receptive most young kids would be. It's really what they're exposed to. Well, oh boy, that's a bad way of putting it. What is put before them initially. I feel like black and white especially is tough for a lot of younger kids that I know to deal with because I do have a few nieces and like children of my friends and my bandmates and stuff like that. So younger kids like bright, vibrant colors and stuff like that. So the black and white might not play as well. I mean, shit, I would love to show the original silent Nosferatu because I believe it is just massive,
so
creepy.
Bored.
And yet with like a silent film like a Cosmopolis or something like that. No, kids are not going to be into something like that. I even worried, like, with stuff in the 60s and the 70s, like, could you show a kid Rosemary's Baby?
You can't, dude. You can't.
And you can't show them a slow burn sort of thing. You have to really cater the sensibilities towards your kid.
You jump to scary stories and goosebumps.
Yeah, and that's where, I was speaking specifically on the literary standpoint. I feel like you start your kids with the same things that I kind of started out with in those 80s and the 90s when you had Goosebumps and you had scary stories and stuff like that. I feel like that's a good way of easing in with at least newer kids, like this generation of kids, the post millennials as we'll call them now, and then maybe work them up to like a Christopher Pike, or I mean, if they're smarter, give them Stephen King.
No,
give
I
them.
think Wences has it nailed. I think you start with the Hotel Transylvania series. You ease them into horror that way, and then you can do the Universal Monster stuff, or you can do, Monster Squad is what Daniel Corey recommends. Make sure they know who the characters are before you show them Monster Squad. But then, I think that's the way to ease them in. Samuel, I love you, brother, but I don't think you're going to get any kids nowadays to sit down for even an hour-long black and white movie where it's one of the first talkies, and it's like it's not going to engage them. It's just not.
Special kid for damn sure. I would even contend like something that's not quite horror, like something fantasy or science fiction perhaps that has scary moments, like a Return to Oz or a Never-Ending Story or something like that. Something that's not a horror movie but has scary parts. Maybe that could ease them in. But then again, those movies tormented me as a child anyway, so I don't know. I don't have as much to say there. So
Ben Grimm says, right, you don't get kids loving reading by showing them Shakespeare books. It's a fair point. Samuel says, very good point. Kids are a lot more sophisticated than I was when I first saw House of Usher. Most have probably already seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street by now. See, Samuel, I think you might be undercutting yourself a little bit there. I don't know that they're more sophisticated. I don't know that they're more sophisticated. I just think that they don't have a choice. Yeah, they're dumber, yes. But they don't have a choice but to be exposed to more crazy things in today's world than you were when you were younger or when we were younger. All we had to worry about was, and I didn't even worry about this, but at the time, I feel like from the movies I watched, you and I, all we had to worry about was baseball cards in our spokes and shit like that. Like that's
Pogs for me, man.
Yeah, it was Magic cards for me and shit like that. So I understand, but we're from a different time, Samuel. The Universal Monsters, they wouldn't have worked for me growing up, and I was born in 1980. So I can't imagine they're going to work for anyone born 2000 or 2010 and beyond. Yeah. I don't think you can show them the Universal Monster movies. I don't think it's going to do anything for them. I think you got to show them. I think scary stories to tell in the dark. I think maybe Ernest Scared Stupid. Let's get to those kinds of things to ease them into horror. Monster Squad is another great one as well.
Yeah. I actually think it would honestly be like the backwards effect where you could start kids with scarier stuff and more modern stuff because they're exposed to a culture that is so loud, vibrant, fast, hyper violent, all this different stuff. And so they're going to be bored with that sort of stuff. But as they mature, I feel like they could circle backwards and just appreciate the roots and really respect in that regard. So
Joshua made me laugh. All right, so let's see. Jube Yagu, one of our actually big viewers. I totally fucked up his name, I'm sure. Also, every parent's different. Usually comes off what the parents either watch or enjoy. That's true. Joshua says, just please don't start the kids out on Onania Club.
That's what made me laugh.
That's what made me laugh too, yeah. Daniel Corey says Ghostbusters maybe? I think absolutely that's a good one that you could get. Yeah. I think once a kid's 8 or 9, I think you can probably get to Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I forgot you were inside. Holy fuck. That scared the shit out of me. What?
Did anyone else see him jump just now?
Yeah, Monsters Inc. and Monster House. Yeah, producer Dave's got some good things in there.
Savage,
Little Monsters? Yeah. Fred Savage, Little Monsters,
with Howie Mandel. Yeah.
Indeed.
It was basically like Nightbreed for kids, essentially.
Crystal Sykes, don't get me wrong. I have a phobia of sharks at 35 because I watched Jaws at 6. But I'm so glad my dad let me watch horror movies from the get-go. I feel like it made me more cautious growing up. Crystal, that might be one of the most true statements from a horror fan I've ever read. I agree. I feel like I've been way more careful as a result, but I also feel like if I really examine it, I might have missed out on a few things as a result too. Because I don't like swimming in any water that I can't see to the bottom of just because of Jaws.
The ocean still scares the living shit out of me. I mean, there's so much stuff in there that can kill you. It's ugh.
We know more about the moon than we know about our own oceans on our own planet. It's fucked up when you think about it.
Agreed.
Saw Witches as a kid, just the right amount of scary. I will agree with that, Daniel.
That's a good one, man.
Those Witches were freaky fucked up, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I know I'm cursing more than I probably should, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, we're already past the point of no return. So,
and yet we have more viewers now than we had starting up, when I feel like we're not even on topic anymore. Maybe Lost Boys could be considered kids horror. Maybe not, since it's R-rated. I think actually
it's pretty tame for R-rated horror.
I think if there's a timeline, right, and I think you do Lost Boys before you get to Nightmare on Elm Street.
I would agree.
I think that's actually not bad. I think it's at the upper end of kids being exposed to horror, but I do still think it could be considered kids horror. It's like what you'd show the kids you'd show Monster Squad like a year later.
Yeah, because I'm not. I mean, I know is there even sex or nudity in the Lost Boys? Not really anything graphic that I remember. And I mean, there's some death and some F-bombs and stuff, but it's one that would really push a hard PG-13 more than an R, at least for me. And I kind of felt the same way about Fright Night, too. Fright Night, especially with the fact that there was comedy and it was a younger kid thinking the next door neighbor, is a vampire, and that whole Rear Window meets Dracula aspect and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think that's another one that, as far as 80s horror goes, that's not gratuitous. It's not like I'm showing them The Mutilator, where it's like boobs galore and the most graphic death from Savini's. Is that The Mutilator that I'm thinking of?
Or The Mutilator was shitty. He did The Burning.
That's the one that I'm thinking of. Well, what was the one that you and I reviewed for Patreon? The one where it was the trooper that came home, and there's that pool death, and there's the death in the shower. The Prowler.
The Prowler, yes.
The Prowler is the one that I'm thinking of.
No, the other one was, it ended with the dude with no legs, still attacking. It was so stupid, The Mutilator.
Sorry, that's not the one I was thinking of. Thank you for I'm glad I caught
Although we love The Mutilator, I think that might have been Mikey Mnemonic's suggestion. Shh, we like it. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's not like you're starting your child on the most graphic kills that had to, if there's laughs, it eases a kid into being a little bit more accepting. And I think that's why so many kids in the mid to late 80s enjoyed Freddy so much, was because the kills, despite being graphic,
Sorry, Mikey just put The Mutilator is a masterpiece. I knew it. Sorry, go ahead.
But the kills, despite being more graphic, they were more comical as time went on, and so that's where kids got more into it, because it was like a spoonful of sugar helping the medicine go down sort of situation. And so in that regard, if you have just a film that is very sexual and yet also counterbalanced with being very dark and depressing and no ebb and flow of even a little chuckle of humor right there, that's the kind of thing that would probably either disturb a kid or turn him into a little burgeoning serial killer himself, So I don't know. That's just a personal opinion, obviously.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the fact that Mikey, I said Mikey suggested Mutilator right after he said it's a masterpiece, and then he just said wanker.
I have to shout out Ashley Hoover, because she actually mentioned another one, which is cool as far as not full-on horror, but straddles that line. The Tom Hanks movie, The Burbs. That's a Joe Dante film from the 80s. I know we did it as a Patreon review. I think I did it solo, if I remember correctly. I love The Burbs, man. Or maybe it was me and Robert.
No, I think it was you and Robert, yeah.
It was me and Robert, yeah. But that's another one that it's got horrific themes, but yet there's enough comedy. There's enough just sort of cheese, where those are the kind of films I think, if you have younger kids today, it's probably got to be from the 80s onwards. Maybe a special kind of kid would appreciate something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake from the 70s or something of that nature. But really, it's got to be 80s onward, and it's got to have some peak and valley of some humor at least in there somewhere. So
yeah. So Luis Almodovar, all hail you guys for always doing a great job at work and can't stay. Don't forget to stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by Luis. All right, how's that? We're going to stand by you, Luis. All right. Mikey, the Jaws theme still scares the bejesus out of me to this day.
Same.
That movie jacked me up, and my husband loves sharks. Crystal, that's me to a T. That movie, it's actually Jaws 2 was the first one I ever saw, but Jaws definitely messed me up, and I've loved great white sharks ever since. I will, and I guarantee if this show is still going, I will vlog, but I fully plan on doing a cage dive with great white sharks. Fuego, are you in?
Fuck no.
What? You wouldn't cage dive with great whites with me?
No. I've seen the movie Cage Dive. I've seen what happens to the cage diver.
That doesn't actually happen unless you're Hillary Duff.
I don't know if I would
raise your hand if you'd go cage diving with me. Who would go in a shark's cage? Who would go in a cage with great white sharks and who would not? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to know who's a badass like me and who's a bitch like Fuego. Sorry.
Wow, yeah. So give us
this is news with booze, guys. I think.
If I wanted to swim in my own piss and shit, I'd take a bath.
Dave said if he wanted to swim in his own piss and shit, he'd take a bath. That's producer Dave for you, and that's why he's sitting more than 6 feet away because it's not social distancing; it's social smelling.
Interestingly put.
Right.
Well, you have a lot of support, and I am definitely bitch status, apparently. Okay, Ben.
Wences will cage dive with me, yes! But Wences would be making jokes at the shark the whole time, and the shark would eat him just to shut him up.
It looks about 50-50
crack myself up with
okay, and Zachary goes just hilarious with it. So.
Ben says hex no. Mikey says, oh, hells no. Cecil, you can go with my husband because that's his dream, says Crystal. Yeah, it's pretty split down the middle.
Yeah.
I'd rather get
50-50
human
on it,
centipeded. So. Joshua, that's a strong statement.
That's a little more definitive, I'd say.
Ashley just simply says no. Mikey says, they have the eyes of pure evil, and I love Satan. Mikey, you need a podcast.
Well, and I mean, Satan is just figurative. I mean, we're talking about an actual thing of pure evil that totally exists below the waters. I mean,
sharkin'.
Oh, Satan. Oh boy.
Tenacious says muff timing? Question mark. Not sure how we got onto that topic, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not against it. Let's see. I'll stay on the beach with Fuego while y'all go.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the company. Jesus Christ, this guy's crazy.
Michael M says, what are y'all drinking, by the way? I'm drinking some Tito's! And it was a little bit of pineapple and juice. Dave, will you come here for a second?
Why?
Will you just take over? I gotta go pee.
Just take over.
Take over for a minute.
I can manage, man.
No, I'm wrangling him in. He needs to say hi to the audience. It's his biannual check-in.
There you go, biannual check-in. And I am out of my wizard goblet, just drinking some random low-calorie beer. Yeah.
No,
anyway.
I need a haircut. Nobody wants to see me with my fucking.
There's that guy. What's up, man? This just totally spun
I was going to
around on me.
say another good film to start your kids off if you want to watch some really quality children's horror is a small film called Event Horizon. If your child survives that movie, then they can survive any horror movie.
Yeah, those would be some formative grounds. My God.
Yeah. Hey, your beard is almost as long as my hair. This is weird. This is what's happening.
Wizard. Yeah, this is what's happening. Beard. This is a plague beard right here.
Quarantine cut.
Yeah, quarantine or the lack thereof in that regard.
I lost my match.
Boy, what is everybody else saying? If it was Street Sharks, I would. It'd be Jawsome up, and all the puns start coming. Fuego can't manage. He needs adult supervision. Yeah, well, hey, once this, we all have our needs and such, sir. So,
How dare you? I woke up at 10:30.
Producer Dave looks like a teenager. Oh, I saw. Okay, that's what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep on.
Well, there is your producer Dave appearance, or have you been wrangled for longer?
I'll say this as far as the AMC thing goes.
Yeah, dude. What's your thoughts there, man?
I think that AMC was really smart to say, hey, wait a second, before you start going and unnegotiating the window timing that we had already established for the past, however long this industry has existed, maybe you should talk to us before you unilaterally decide that, hey, maybe going forward, this is how you're going to do business, because we're your partners in this, and you didn't talk to us first. So I feel like that's really what it was. Do you remember when they there was something else that just happened recently where I feel like it was a negotiating tactic for one party to just say, hey, yeah, we're shut down right now. In fact, we're probably going to go bankrupt.
It was AMC who
Yeah.
has been like hinting about the fact that they're going to go bankrupt. So their backs are against the wall in this situation. And I was telling Cecil, I think that they're playing hardball here, man. And in some ways, they kind of have a right to, I would imagine. That's why I still think there will be negotiations that transpire. That's why they say at the end of the statement, you know, they're like, well, they didn't talk to us about this, and they make it seem definitive, but nothing's ever really truly definitive.
Who was the guy the studio had? What studio was it?
It was
Universal.
Yeah, it was Universal. Yeah, and he told Wall Street Journal to that.
I think that they misconstrued his comments because I don't think he meant that. But at the same time, he didn't really think about what he was saying before he said it, because obviously there's $1 billion+ industry in just soda and popcorn at the movie theater. So if you're just going to take away, the potential of bringing the economy back with films, be like, well, people are just going to stay home anyway.
It's Universal. It's like saying we're not going to release Jaws in the theaters.
Well, no, I don't think that that's what he was saying, and that's why I think this was the AMC being really smart and saying, hey, before you go announcing that you're going to give up theatrical releases.
Actually, they just said they were doing both at the same time.
Well, and then they need to renegotiate, because that's what their business model is based on. Just like pay-per-view and all these other business models, they're based on pre-negotiated windows of time in order for them to make money off the product, because they're spending thousands of dollars to have it in their theater when they could have other movies that could make more money. And so, yeah, that's my opinion on that. But I think it's probably pretty smart of studios, if they have a bomb, to just say, hey, look, it's not selling in the theaters. We're just going to release it on at-home viewing. So maybe that's what that's the good that will come out of this, is that I heard one of the viewers say something about, will this be a boon for independent filmmakers if studios start releasing things just direct to... Well, they already do that. There's already lots of that happening. So, in fact, it's never been any easier for an independent filmmaker to get something distributed, because all you have to do is put it on YouTube now, and you can make $7.99 on your film. I mean, it doesn't really require someone to say, hey, your movie's good, I'm going to spend $45 million marketing it, and we're going to spend another $10 million putting it in theaters and giving away tickets and, cross promotion marketing, branding with McDonald's toys and Taco Bell late night, Avenger boxes, whatever.
No.
At the end of the day, we're all trying to, make as much money off the same fucking story that we've been telling since the original Jew. Okay.
And that's where, just to even echo Dave's sentiment a little bit, I personally think everybody that...
OJ?
The OJ.
The original Jesus?
There they're going. And Cecil, just to echo something that Dave said just now that I think is really important to keep in mind for indie filmmakers, is the fact that YouTube and even like Amazon and some of these other outlets, like, you don't need a distributor to put your thing up there and make it a pay by the instance sort of thing. I mean, you can throw something on Amazon or on Vudu or on all of these different streaming outlets. You don't need to make it free on YouTube either, right? You can make it a pay by view sort of situation, or do you have to have a certain distinction for that? That's one thing I'm not sure about, at least for YouTube, but I mean, from the people I know who have used Amazon and like Amazon's video functions, or even Amazon and the Kindle stuff, you don't need anything to put your stuff up there. As long as you have a finished product, you can put it up there, and you can self-publish, and you can just put your creative work up there, and you can have just a pay-by-purchase sort of scenario. The playing ground has been significantly leveled in that regard, whether you've written a book or a short story, or even...
You can, but it doesn't matter if no one finds out about it. That's the problem.
This is true. Yeah, and that's where, the whole grassroots of hitting social media and trying your damnedest to get it out there. It does help to have an agent. It does help to have a company that's going to help you advertise it, an actual distributor of sorts. But I mean, the times have changed, and Dave touching back on the AMC thing shows that there's just other trends in the industry that are being altered, at least the decent amount with the news that we started the show with. So
yeah. And Cecil, the King of Bears, is back. Yes, Wences, I am. If I was truly the King of Bears, I'd rip open my chest just to reveal nothing but hair, which I could do, but I don't think that would be appropriate. Certainly, we'd get dinged by YouTube because of the straight masculinity that would be involved, the Burt Reynolds-esqueness of it all.
Now I'm thinking of the bear rug. Oh my god.
Dave was like, "Get me off this camera now." Yeah, Dave doesn't like to be on camera very much at all. See you in October, producer Dave, says Michael M. Very appropriate. Very probably not bad. Probably not inaccurate either. Cecil getting rid of the evidence. Shh. Wences, what did I fucking tell you? I know it's been a while since you've been here, but still, shut the fuck up about that stuff. He just that was just for Wences. Everyone else,
exactly.
Turn away. Let's see. Massive Entertainment. Hello, Massive Entertainment. Good to see you.
¿Qué onda?
We're just talking about some news stories that we've missed because we haven't done a news with booze for a number of weeks, and there's just too much that dropped in the last 2 days that we just couldn't. By the way, how impressive is my background, Fuego? I found 2 different silhouetted boxers that I could put with the Universal and AMC logos, and then
when I saw that, I was immediately impressed. Yes, I give you props, sir, especially since you just threw this background together very quickly. He messaged like an hour before, and he's like, "Dude, did you guys even see this story?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And so I hadn't been on Twitter. I was finishing listening to a Star Wars book, and not really doing much. And so I went and I saw the THR article, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's definitely talk about it." And then lo and behold, it just morphed into us doing this tonight. So there you go, guys.
I was like, we have to talk about this. First off, because I know that Fuego will talk about it during the next show business for damn sure. but yeah. Also because it's pertinent, and we didn't, well, I know he's going through some stuff with Emily, so
yeah, that's too bad.
It's I wanted to, I would like, look, it's quarantine, but if we can, I wouldn't mind doing more of these. Like if there's big news that drops, maybe we jump on and do, a little impromptu news session and just catch up on some stuff, because I enjoy it and I miss talking about the news. And obviously, it wouldn't look right if we did our 6 foot apart thing like we did
the other day.
Yeah. Which we dropped our BAM box today, so the first episode of that did drop. So they saw how we had to sit 6 feet apart from each other. And
we did the same thing on Monday for We Summon the Darkness too. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let me jump to the comments here. What's this about a Hellraiser series on HBO? Yes, Massive Entertainment. Go back. We talk a long time about it, so you'll have a good discussion there.
Yeah.
Kristopher Santiago, Cecil, your Waxwork Records vinyl haul is pretty awesome. Did you see they're releasing Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood on vinyl? Yes, I did, and I was very tempted to get it, except I don't have any of the Friday the 13th vinyls, and I'm hoping they'll maybe put together a master set like they did with the Nightmare on Elm Street vinyls.
So is that one considered one of the most iconic soundtracks for some reason, I'm assuming? Or
No, I just don't think it's been released to vinyl before.
Oh, maybe. Okay. All right.
Let's see here. Wences has it. I've loved when Wences is here because he and I are very simpatico with our tastes. Can horror businesses afford another resurgence of remakes, but more independent films such as Cube, Ginger Snaps, and 9 Lives? Wait, hang on. Wences, it's a bit of a confusing question.
I'm going to look at it too.
Can the horror business afford another resurgence of remakes, but more independent films such as Cube? I'm not sure. Are you saying should they do more remakes, or should they do more independent films like Cube, Ginger Snaps, and 9 Lives? I think the easiest way to answer this is we're going to get both. I think the studios are going to continue to do the big series in the theater, and we're going to continue to get awesome independent horror like Color Out of Space straight to VOD, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and even a lot of stuff like that, man, Color Out of Space got limited theatrical. Come to Daddy got limited.
It doesn't even matter anymore, though, because the Oscars just announced that you don't have to have a theatrical run to be considered anymore.
Yeah,
right?
They've had to change that rule significantly because of the fact that so many of these big films that there was so much hatred last year.
Prime and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like The Irishman, stuff like Marriage Story, even the year before with Roma, me being the whole stuff I cover on my separate channel where it's all art housey and silly like that.
Plug it real quick. Tell everyone about your other channel in case they don't know. We got a big audience right now.
Yeah, guys. So I do non-spooktacular stuff, and there's occasional edginess that you have in storytelling, but anything really non-horror, and it used to be like comedy and big budget Marvel superhero stuff. That's not really around anymore. So I'm having to find the smaller, dramas and indie sort of stuff, and so that's what I do on my personal channel. And then I also geek out with lots of Star Wars coverage, comics, novels, and various things like that. It's just youtube.com/Jaime and Fuego, just like my silly moniker. Or if you just search in Fuegotainment on YouTube, you'll probably find me on there. So yeah,
I imagine so. Wences, I love you, buddy. Okay, Cecil whispering made me spit my drink out. We're even. Wences always made me laugh, man. I'm glad to see him back. Glad to see Massive Entertainment back too. It's good to see everyone. It's good to see all you guys, man. Being in quarantine, Fuego and I, let's just go off on a brief minute on how weird the quarantine situation is, because when we actually got together, like it wasn't planned. Like we had planned to just do another remote session on Sunday, and then Fuego and I got to messaging, and without going into details, it was like, man, we're both kind of stir crazy. We both just kind of got to get out, And so I was like, why don't you come over? I'll disinfect everything. We'll maintain the 6-foot distance, and we'll just do some recording, because some of my favorite channels, like Corridor Digital, they're still getting together and filming. They're just doing the 6-foot spacing, so we can do that too.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah, Kevin Smith doing it too, exactly. Yeah. So it can be done, so let's do it. And it was so nice. It was like putting on the gloves again, It was like, it just feels so good. Which
we also put gloves on too.
So indeed, as a matter of fact, which did not feel comfortable because I don't normally have them.
Full cavity search.
Oh yeah.
No, man, but I mean, if I have to make the occasional run to Target where I'm trying to be away from people, I think going and being in the presence of just you and it's one-on-one, that's probably a much less dangerous scenario than going out and having to brave a grocery store for toilet paper briefly because a few places I've consulted couldn't Postmates it to me or whatever. These are strange times we live in, I mean, I laughed so hard with the meme that you sent in the group thread where it was from Hereditary and it's our little click girl who's like thinking 2020 is going to be my year. And then the photo right beside is just 2020 in a picture of the
pole.
Oh, that got me. And I was like, I shouldn't be laughing, but it's so true.
Yeah. No one reacted to that either. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. And just to quote Jim Morrison in The Doors, this is the strangest life I've ever known. And I think most of us would probably agree. This is and not just us, but people who are generations before us. They're like, yeah, I lived through Vietnam and I've lived through all these different big, scary scenarios and stuff. And this is unprecedented. It truly is. And that's way fucking scarier than anything we could ever see on a screen, including Outbreak and Contagion and whatever The Stand. I mean, whatever sort of craziness you guys might have been watching in the midst of all of this. So, yeah, it's been surreal, really.
Yeah, it really has. Yes, Massive Entertainment says, please make these live impromptu videos. Crystal Sykes says, yes, live sessions are great. Yeah, maybe we'll just start doing this, Fuego. If news drops, let's just jump on and do, news bites like we talked about.
I'm down.
Wences, I forgot to tell Fuego, I started working at Goodwill in October, obviously before everything. So guess whose library is increasing in? Or guess whose library I'm increasing in?
Oh, it's probably Mr. El Rey. But, I mean, even beyond that, I have collected a lot of my Clive Barker books, Magica, Thief of Always, lots of stuff that I found there. I found Dune. I mean, if you really take the time, it's like needle in a haystack in some situations. But I used to love going and pillaging Goodwill and Savers and some of the other discount stores like that for books and for DVDs specifically. I mean, hell, you can even find brand name jeans sometimes and things like that. It just really one man's trash is another man's treasure. And if you go to nicer areas of your respective city or whatever, if you're here in the U.S. where we have those particular spots, you will often go where, as opposed to people trying to sell that sort of stuff in those richer areas of town, they just go donate it. They don't care. They don't want to go through all that and all of that headache, so they just donate it. You can really find some awesome treasure there for next to nothing, and it's fun doing that sort of treasure hunt situation. It's cool.
We have Caleb Gohagan. Hi. Hello, Caleb. Hopefully
What's up,
I
Caleb?
pronounced your last name right. Let's see. Fuego, is your beard getting longer and more luxurious?
This is the quarantine beard. It's probably, sorry if it's clicking right now. It's the longest and most ridiculous that it's probably ever been since around a year or so ago. But I don't even think it got to this level the last time. Shout out to my buddy Jacob Dowse, who's one of the Hail to Stephen King people. He was the first to call it this wizard beard, and I guess that's just what my beard does. It doesn't really fill out in a nice way. It just grows lengthy and slender and strange looking. So there you go.
There you go. Well, maybe we're going to get you to push to over 1,000, Fuego, because, yeah, we got Crystal Sykes. I keep forgetting you have another channel. I'll go check it out, Fuego. And Jubi Yagyu, I wish I knew how to say his name correctly. I got so much in Fuegotainment to catch up on. And then Wences says, other channel, I'm in. So, yeah, we need to mention it more on this channel, buddy.
Well, the thing is, everybody, it's never to deter attention away from this channel. I'm not on every single horror show video. I like to be on as many as possible, but there's certain stuff that I don't get the chance to cover, or it's like Cecil and Susie doing a comic review or something like that. And so I do have other stuff that I have interest in, and I'm like 30 subscribers from 1,000, so it's a like anthill in comparison, with us over here. But anybody who wants to go take a look, it would be appreciated. So,
nope, I did not miss your goodwill comment, Wences. I'm glad it brought you back here. No matter what brought you back here, I'm glad you're back here.
We're glad you're all back here, y'all. Come on, now.
And Mikey says, love Corridor. Did you check out Wonky Willie? Yes, absolutely. So they just put up a What If Willy Wonka was rated R.
I saw the thumbnail when I was logged in uploading porno, the review for that, but I haven't watched it yet.
Uploading a review for the movie Porno, just so you guys know.
Fangoria's movie, it's called Porno.
Fuego's just like, yeah, I saw that when I was uploading Porno. Oh, okay.
And that was where the distinction, even in the group thread, when I made mention of that, I was like, guys, I VOD'd Porno. You want to watch it? And they're just like, what? Anyway.
Massive Entertainment. No, I have not seen what Rick Baker's White Walker makeup did. I did not see that. I'll have to look that up. Sorry. A little tired. Yes, it's crazy during this time because the parks are closed and we can still crowd to a Target and Walmart with a million other people. Think you two have the right idea. You guys can hang out safely. Yes. Love a Goodwill, says Ashley Hoover. Absolutely. King Barker, everything is there. Only thing I was missing is Rice, which sucks because I have an opening trilogy of the Vampire Chronicles. I've always had a temptation to read the Vampire Chronicles because my oldest sister Stephanie read them all and she swears by them.
Yeah, Tale of the Body Thief is bomb, dude. That's one that they didn't adapt into a actual thing. There's that one, and then Devil Memnoch.
Memnoch the Devil, yes.
Yeah, Memnoch the Devil, books 4 and 5. Those are two that I would love to see a visual.
I would love to watch Memnoch based on my sister's description. That's when Lestat is literally talking to the devil.
With the devil, yeah.
That's fucking awesome. Exactly. I would love to see that.
And then like she has her witching hour books, and then she eventually crosses over the witches with the vampire. I mean, I've only read some Rice. I've only gone so far into it because I don't love it, but I love her ideas maybe a little more than her prose, I guess I could say. So,
let's see. Crystal Sykes, use Just Watch. If you check Just Watch, you can put in anything and it'll tell you where it's streaming. Let's see. Wences, drug comment, but it's funny. As long as I've been here, I'm not a mod. Well, I just fixed that, Wences. but I also know what happens when you drink, so that's why I have to be careful about letting you be a mod. But I love you anyway. So, oh my God, Crystal, that's my favorite vampire movie. Yes.
It's good. It's good. I mean, you've got all those studs on display, so it's all fine. I see Torgal. I think it's Torgal Susan, right? She's like, porno looks like a good movie. This is the first live I've been around for. Yeah, that one. It's definitely it lives up to its name. So you've got some gratuitous nudity. It's not super as sexual as a lot of people would imagine, and it is a horror comedy. It's kind of delving into the same vein as like Deathgasm, although not as good. And it has some amusing characters. I like the fact that it's 90s based, so it's these kids working at a movie theater, and they're showing Encino Man and A League of Their Own and stuff like that, and they happen across this tape that it looks like 70s satanic panic craziness, with like blood sacrifice and, boobs and all this other silliness. But yeah, it was enjoyable. I'm not going to say instant classic or anything, but it was fun enough, So.
Yeah, I just realized, I was like, wait, is that Horror Gal Susan? Yes, it is. It is Horror Gal Susan. Hello, Susan. Let's see. Ashley Hoover, I didn't know how. I've never seen that movie, but it sounds awesome. Yeah, check it out, Crystal. I bet it's Stephen King fetish stuff. Shudders. LOL, says Mikey Mnemonic. Corridor Crew is so good. Yes, Corridor Crew is awesome. I first became aware of Corridor Crew years ago when they released Superman with a GoPro. It's one of my absolute favorite YouTube videos of all time. I cried the first 3 times that I watched that. Have you seen that, right? Superman with a GoPro?
Ooh, it's kind of drawing a blank.
It's literally just a sketch where it starts off with Superman, and he's putting a GoPro on his head, or he looks at a GoPro, and it says, "If found, please return to blah, blah, blah," and it's got an address. So he puts it on, and he's like, all right, here we go. And then he just takes off and goes flying around the city and, like, saves someone and fights off bad guys, and then eventually drops the GoPro off at the dude who owns it, and then just fucking takes off. And it's all filmed from his forehead. It's one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time, and I've loved Corridor Crew ever since. It is so fucking... I can't believe you haven't seen it.
No, I'm going to have to check it out now because of the fact that sounds like just proof of concept of talent where somebody's like, okay, this is my showcase video that will get my foot in the door.
It really is. Dude, will you do me a favor? It's only like 3 minutes long. Just pull it up real quick and give it a look while I look at these comments. I'm going to respond to a couple comments while you give it a look because I really want to get your opinion on it. You'll love it.
I'm just worried about slowing my connection at this point because I've had so many, like when I have my browser running, when I've been trying to do like Skype stuff with CP and the gang for show business.
It messes you up.
It slows me down a little bit. And also since Catherine's been working from home, thankfully she's done at least right now. So it's not more people on the Wi-Fi, but Superman with a GoPro.
That's all you need to search. And Wences hasn't seen it either. That sounds amazing. Yes, guys, if you have not seen Superman with a GoPro, it is one of the best YouTube videos you'll ever watch. It is so... It literally made me cry because as such a Superman fan for so long, it was the first time... Like, the only other people that had done it kind of similar was Chronicle. I love the flying in Chronicle, and this was so viscerally Superman. Because look at the upload date, too. It was uploaded in, like, 2012 or something like that. What does it say?
March 17th, 2014.
2014, yeah. Okay.
So it makes me wonder if Chronicle had... I think Chronicle had come out by this particular...
It might have, but...
Dude, Chronicle was dope, man. And I like Dane DeHaan is the shit.
Oh, he's so good.
And those battles were basically like almost like DBZ level of craziness. And I think Chronicle was before Man of Steel. I can't remember for sure. I feel like I need to...
While Fuego looks at that, Ryan Kinney asks, is Dylan's New Nightmare being affected by COVID? Yes. In the sense that we had to cancel. We were initially going to be filming in less than a month from now. However, because of the situation, we cannot. So now the current plan is we're going to attempt to film approximately 2 months after all those restrictions are lifted. So once everything is lifted and we're back to normal, I'm going to aim to film everything 2 months after that point. So that's the timeline we're going with.
And that's the thing, is that we don't know when everything is going to be lifted. That's the biggest essence of uncertainty, is because if I recall correctly, the stay-at-home isn't supposed to be lifted in California until the end of May, but there was always the possibility it could be extended. The California governor even went so far as to say no. Now, we're in Arizona, but obviously our talent, our star for Cecil's film is in California. That's where Miko lives, and also where Vince lives and everything. And so, I mean, yeah, when the governor is saying that he's not even going to allow concerts or any large public gatherings until 2021 because of the fact that they don't have a actual treatment or proper stuff yet. It's all on kind of a what's going to happen basis, I suppose. So I wish you so well with all of it, obviously, man, and you're being a trooper about continuing to forge forward. So
this is for Juby. Juby Yagu, please put a phonetic pronunciation of your name in there so I can figure out. But this is for you. Life finds a way. All right, the benches are open in California. Theaters in my state open Friday, says Ben Grimm. Where are you, Ben? Interesting.
Yeah, I know Georgia reopened.
Oh yeah, because May 1st.
And Florida reopened. Yeah.
I think that's silly. I don't think Arizona will do the same, personally. But all right. So, that sounds amazing. Yeah, Fuego, you gotta watch Superman with a GoPro and tell me what you think. So I never finished. The reason I cried, you guys, is because I've been a literal fan of Superman since I'm a little boy. I watched the Superman movies when I was a little boy, but I got into comics. The thing that got me into comics was Superman number 75, the Death of Superman issue. It came out in, I think, November of 1992, and I have every Superman comic ever since. So I am a massive, massive Superman fan, and I've only seen Lois and Clark or Superman Returns and stuff like that as my example of Superman. I've never had the actual visceral feeling of feeling like Superman flying. And Superman with a GoPro, all they did was put the GoPro on the dude's head, put him in front of a green screen, and had him put his arms out like this. And then they made everything else around him using drone footage. And then they just comped him into the drone footage. And it looks so amazing and so good that, again, I will reiterate, and I do not find myself any less of a man for saying that I cried when I saw Superman literally flying through the air with my perspective, catching a woman falling from a burning building, stopping robbers with bullets with his hand, and it was just the most amazing experience I could have had as a, at the time, 34-year-old, having loved Superman as long as I did. So if you haven't watched it, please do. It's so good. Go ahead, Fuego. I know I went off on a tangent, but that's how much I love that video.
Oh no, you're fine, man. I've never been as big of a proponent of Superman in comparison. I've always been more of a Batman guy, and I know you love Batman too. So that's the thing. I'm actually going to throw something out there. I'm really curious if anybody has checked out this brand new streaming service that launched like a week or two ago. Quibi, whatever the hell they're calling it. It's basically has a slew of horror and kind of thriller, kind of centric content that's on it. And the reason I think of it is because Dane DeHaan and Chronicle, he's in this movie with Makai Monroe, I believe her name is. She was the girl who was in It Follows. She was also in that Tao, whatever movie that you reviewed on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken, where it had kind of a cube vibe to it as well. She's the
Jube Yagu.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. It's essentially a new streaming service where everything is only on your phone or on a tablet. So they don't have an at-home sort of thing. You can't watch it on your computer. You can't watch it on your Fire Stick or your PlayStation or whatever you stream your content through. It's specifically through your small device. And they've got lots of big-time people behind it. And, Sam Raimi has this new anthology horror series called 50 States of Fright, where each story takes place in a different state, directed by a different person. And, so it's kind of going that almost like what Blumhouse have been doing with Into the Dark, but on a smaller scale, and obviously a smaller scale with regards to that. I watched the very first episode, which is called The Golden Arm. It's directed by Sam Raimi. It's about this kind of hoity-toity, really attractive woman who is married to this guy who's a lumberjack, and she's like a very high-maintenance wife, and she wants all of the nicest things from him and whatever. And then, lo and behold, he needs some assistance from her one day when he actually goes out to cut down this big tree. The tree falls on her and slices her arm off. And then he fashions her this golden arm because she doesn't want like your typical fake arm. You know, she needs an arm that's made of gold. And it apparently starts to slowly poison her. And I don't want to really mention much beyond that. As far as Sam Raimi and the pedigree that he is really set for himself, and especially with me, I wasn't that impressed. And I started watching the second episode. But the interesting thing about this Quibi specifically is it's basically a feature-length thing or a episodic length thing. So you get about 7 to 10 episodes in segments. And then you have to wait a few days and you get the next segment, and so on and so forth. So they're taking movies and breaking them down.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Little pieces. Yeah.
That's terrible. That'll fuck up the flow of a movie.
It's strange, man, which is why I've been waiting until every single episode is up, and then I will just binge it in its entirety. Because
That's a terrible idea. That's like allowing Netflix to allow people to play movies at 1.5 or 2 times speed.
Yeah,
I think
which
that
they
fucks.
allowed.
No, they were going to, but they don't. They weren't. They decided not to.
They did away with it. Well, I mean, for me, it's like watching something on TV. You know, where there's a commercial break. I don't think if I sat down and tried to watch the first 7 minutes and then have to wait a week or whatever to see the next 7 minutes, that would work as well. But at least for me, with The Stranger, the one with Dane DeHaan and the girl from It Follows, that one worked well because, you know, she's...
I watched the trailer for that. That looked good. That looked intense.
That one's really good, actually. And I was going to say we need to review it, man, because I don't know if all of the installments are up just yet, but Dane DeHaan is such a damn good villain.
Yeah.
He's creepy, dude. And so she is new to L.A. from the Midwest, and she doesn't know anybody, and so she's working as like an Uber-type driver, and she goes and picks him up, and it just gets crazy from there. And it's got some interesting twists and turns, great performances from both of them, because it's really just the two of them, pretty self-contained.
Once they're all up, I'll take a look at it. But
I know the service is free for the first like 60 days or something, because everybody is trying to give you freebies right now, because everyone's stuck at home. But that's the thing with this service, is that everybody thought that people were still going to be on the go when it was originally conceived. And MTV Viacom has like a new Singled Out and a new Punk'd, and there's all of this content on here. And they thought it was going to trend so well because everyone's on the subway and they want to watch something on their phone while they're trying to get their way home or whatever. But now, since everybody is stuck at home and not out doing their regular lives where they're going all over the place, sitting on buses and whatever else, now I heard the streaming service has been hit significantly and not seen the sort of subscribership that they were initially hoping for. So I don't know. At least check out The Stranger, 50 States of Fright. Maybe some of the later installments would be good, but I just wanted more of your thoughts about the whole bite-size aspect and being relegated to a small device that it's all about, because Squires on Bloody Disgusting just today was like, 50 States of Fright is what everybody should be watching. And I was like, really? Because Haunted Meg, like 2 weeks ago when it launched, said the first episode sucked. So I don't know. I mean, with Anthology, you can have weaker installments and then better ones. And
well, it's the same with, I watched the first episode of Cursed Films, and I'm excited to watch the rest. I don't know that they're all going to be as good as one another, but we'll see. Yeah. Let's see. Mikey Mnemonic did help me out with Jube's name, because he says I'm into Japanese shiz. So question, seeing how much you guys bleeped on it, is there a way to make the Final Destination comic a convincing film, not like the Final Destination? Maybe Fuego, you got to handle it again. I broke the seal, so I'm in trouble. I'll be right back.
It was that your microwave I heard or something? I don't know. Making the Final Destination, well, you know, it's not like the story was really any worse than a lot of those later entries. I will contend that that's a series that started out so strongly, and I distinctively recall watching the original. Well, I watched them all in theaters, but the first one, I was at that young enough, like high school level where it just wowed me. The concept was so unique. Jeffrey Reddick did a damn good job with the original pitch that was originally going to be an X-Files episode, and then it was retrofitted and mixed around a little bit, and then turned into just the teen film that we got with now cast of borderline all-stars of that era of late 90s filmmaking and stuff like that. But even though the second film, in my estimation, has even better kills at times and is very strong, the subsequent entries were just cheese with worse and worse acting, diminishing returns. The kills were still always fun, but people started going for the kills as opposed to any interesting aspect of storytelling. And so that's about where that comic series is. I'm sure all of you guys know that they're working on a new Final Destination film that is not going to be a complete reboot. It's going to be just kind of a continuation. So we don't know if it's going to be a sequel to Final Five or if it's going to fit somewhere else and in between somewhere. I don't know. You could adapt it, but I don't really see the point because it wasn't that distinctively dope or anything like that. So that's about where I'm at on the Final Destination comic. It was no better or worse in a lot of ways than entries 3 through 5, aside from that twist at the end of 5, which is probably one of the coolest things of the entire series, the way it kind of wraps things around. That was an awesome twist.
All right, so let's see. Massive Entertainment says, we're alike, Cecil. Although he spelled it almost like Cecile. But whatever, it's okay. It's okay.
You're breaking my heart.
I know what he meant. Superman has always been my favorite, always. My first toy was Superman. My son was 12 months old, and we were in Toys R Us when we were walking around. ... Oh, we'll get back to that in a minute. I thought it was shows made to watch, be 15-minute episodes, but most of the shows I watched was just an episode cut into 3 parts. It seems like just a gimmick to show you more commercials, says Ben Grimm on Kiwi, I'm assuming.
Well, you can sign up for with commercials or without commercials, and for the 90-day free trial, you have the chance for with or without commercials, and I signed up for without commercials, and so, doing the without commercials aspect, it's like if you're watching your Hulu with or without commercials, it's frustrating, but it's like a commercial break with watching TV. We've been so, in some ways, spoiled by the Netflix model where we can stream something in its entirety without those sort of breaks, and that's why there's no commercial YouTube down now. That's why, Hulu has the higher tier where you can go without the commercials. And so, I don't know. Sign up for 90-day Quibi Kiwi without the commercials, and it's much more enjoyable, or at least it was for me. So.
Wences, speaking of streaming service, just by numbers, how would you rate the Twilight Zone on CBS All Access and Creepshow on Shudder? Just numbers. Keep me in surprise. I would give Twilight Zone, for me, someone that is not attached to the original series, never watched it, I would give the new Twilight Zone a 7.5 to an 8, and I would give Creepshow a 9. I think Creepshow is more enjoyable as a horror fan, but Twilight Zone was a lot of fun as a Black Mirror fan. But I think definitely Creepshow. If you have a choice between the two, I would go with Creepshow. What about? Well, you didn't watch Twilight Zone, right?
I didn't. No, I didn't. And that's the thing, is that I've seen them try the Twilight Zone. They've done that a few different times at this particular point, because aside from the original series, there was the movie that they made. There was the 80s revival series. There was even that early 2000s revival series where John Davison from Korn did the theme song, and it was hosted by Forrest Whitaker, and it was dog shit. It was so horrible. So this is like the 4th iteration, technically even 5 if you want to include the movie of this series. And I definitely wanted to check it out, but I still am not even all up to date on Black Mirror. So as much as I adore anthology horror, especially, I mean, I know Twilight Zone is more like thriller, like sci-fi sort of thing in comparison with like full-blown horror like Creepshow is. I think Creepshow was more in the spirit. But how can I say more in the spirit if I haven't watched any of those Twilight Zone episodes? So I don't know.
Will from Real Escredia is here. He says, horror. Good to see you, CP.
Same, man. Yo.
I figured you guys would be covering Universal and AMC on Showbiz, if it's still even a thing by 6 days from now. But yeah, I figured we'd cover it. Honestly, it's a big deal to talk about, even as horror fans, because Halloween Kills is Universal. So that means that if Universal's statement today is true, that means that Halloween Kills will be available on VOD the same date as it is in theater. Do we think... You don't think so?
No fucking way, man.
I think CP would say yes.
Really?
I think so. I think he said no matter what happens, it's going to drop on that date or earlier. Whether it's VOD or in the theater, it's going to drop on its date or sooner.
Oh, no, I'm saying it's going to be theater only that day if they stick the release date.
Disagree.
Oh.
Disagree, man. I mean,
Really?
I disagree at this point. I think that Jason Blum is uncaring enough regarding needing a theatrical show that I don't think he'd care. I think he'd be fine dropping it on VOD at the same time.
Well, I mean, the fact that they've been doing Into the Dark, and those could have easily been, smaller, limited theatrical, and then only VOD, but they've gone just direct to VOD with that Hulu partnership. So I still politely disagree because of the Halloween name and the prestige that is associated with it. But, we're witnessing a changing industry, and when we get around to another show business, CP, man, your opinions more so than anything. Like I even mentioned Lindsay at the beginning. Shout out to my 2 cents of nonsense, which is my buddy Lindsay's channel, who is a part of our crew on show business. Jump over to the Willis Greedia YouTube channel. Amazing content over there. Very insightful, very badass. And that's where we do show business on Mondays, or we have, until all of this stuff went down. But like both of their opinions, and Chauncey K. Robinson's as well, her being newer to the crew, and her being more embroiled in it as like a Rotten Tomatoes journalist. I'm curious to hear those differing perspectives about not only what all of these industry shifts mean, but what might be I guess a breaking point for deciding to take a step back on how bold everybody is being with, severing that relationship.
So yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty caught up on the comments here, and we've been going for about 2.5 hours. So
we have.
I think this might be a good enough place to call it for today. I do have tentative plans to be here on Friday evening for a live stream with Dave McCrae, giving an update on Dylan's New Nightmare. So those of you guys that want specific Dylan's New Nightmare updates, Friday will be the night for that. And ideally, that's the plan. So as long as Dave can make it and nothing comes up for me, you'll see that pop up on Friday night, and we'll be talking about Dylan's New Nightmare. But for now, I think that we had to jump on and talk about some of these news topics. It's been too long, and again, Fuego, I think this is the way to do it. If we're gonna have news stories drop on us, let's just start doing this. So, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to click that like button down there and subscribe. Ding that notification bell if you want to make sure you don't miss our episodes going forward. And
Ring our bell.
Ring our bell. Ring our bell. Thank you, Fuego. So, guys, the link is in the description box for our Patreon as well if you want to choose movies for us to either review or do commentaries for, or do boogie boxes of. All of that is in the description box as well. But until next time, I am the quarantined COVID-safe Cecil Laird.
And I am over here in the Deadly Desert as well. I'm Ian Fuego.
And remember, guys, stay scared.
Stay scared.
Ring my bell.